everybody. Happy Saturday to you. I hope you're having a great Saturday and an amazing weekend so far. My name is Don Terrell, and of course, I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades, and I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. After 6 seasons and over 200 episodes or so, you ought to know by now. You know the drill. As I always like to say, hop into the comments, say, hey, where you tuning in from. Of course, I always say this is an interactive show, and I always like to acknowledge my viewers as I can. And make sure that I'm broadcasting on all the channels that I should be broadcasting on, which it looks like I am. Well, I'm going to make sure LinkedIn is going there. But again, we're here each and every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, live on the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and the website and Facebook group for the show. But I always like to say, I want people to get connected at the YouTube channel, because there you'll be able to connect with everybody and engage with everybody. So hop on over to the YouTube channel. You get notified when the show goes live, and of course when great content goes up on the channel. It looks like we are broadcasting like we should. Man, it's running smoothly. Usually I have a hiccup with one or the other, it seems like. Also, I like to make sure that, I give a plug, or at least plug, for supporting the show. BuyMeACoffee.com/Don Terrell helps me to continue to create content like this, bring on guests, and just do the show. And again, just create content for the channel. So any support there would definitely help me to continue that. So, and who doesn't love a good cup of coffee? Some people don't, but I do. I love a good cup of coffee. BuyMeACoffee.com/Don Terrell. I'm trying to get our Patreon page up and going. Like I said, you're also able to, listen to some of our audio, just audio, and find us on Spotify and some of the other audio platforms, such as iHeartRadio Music, and Amazon Music, of course. There, let me drop this off. And definitely looking to grow that. But I'm super excited about this episode. This is a fireside chat here, but I kind of alluded to it last week a little bit, the topic, and I really wanted to talk about, of course, the free tools, this rise of free tools, and things of that nature. And for everybody that's just joining in, maybe a treat. We may have a special guest that might pop in and join in on the conversation. I got a message last week. One of our past guests and family members said they'd love to, hop in and join in the conversation. It's something, near and dear to their heart as well. So that's a possibility. So looking forward to that. But definitely, this is something that's kind of been, and I've had this conversation a lot lately, really, with some of my colleagues. So I felt like it'd be a good topic to kind of really dive into. It looks like we are, got rocking and rolling on all the channels, and everything is going the way it should be going. And I am super excited about diving into this topic. I'm glad you decided to give me a little bit of your time today. Again, make sure you hop into the comments and engage, because these fireside chats, I want to be really more interactive. Of course, they're more fireside chat type of things. And I was thinking I need to do a special intro for these intermittent fireside chat ones that I do. So without further ado, I think we can kind of get the train rolling, of course, there. We are back. I'm gonna, even though there's not a scheduled guest, I'm gonna put our pause in. We are back and ready to start the show. Again, I am super excited about this kind of conversation, and hopefully, maybe our special guest will get a chance to drop in. But I had this again. I've been having this conversation, kind of back and forth with, a lot of my colleagues, and just been discussing it. And I've noticed it seems like that there's this prevalence of these free, powerful softwares that are really pushing uh, kind of the industry standards. And I kind of wanted to talk about, and I use some of the software, so I kind of wanted to talk about is that kind of the business model that creative companies are starting to do with giving creatives, you know, full, control, or not full control, but full features of their software freely or very reasonably. So I think with just the prevalence of some of these softwares that are starting, and these are just a few. I picked a few that, and some of these I've used, and some of them I still use. And I think kind of the model is maybe DaVinci Resolve, which I'd use for a lot of the editing of my videos and things like that. But companies, and I'm wondering if it's this post era of Adobe and people getting tired of paying subscription models and subscription fees and having to come out of their pocket for this software, that software, type of thing. And if you're one of those ones that, you know, uh, use free or very reasonable software, I would really love to know, which ones you use, which ones you leverage. And again, now these are more, and I think the studios that are creating these softwares and developing these softwares, I think they're really thinking of the independent creator. This isn't going to work so much for the studio, obviously, that's got a pipeline that's already developed and going. Um, they're not going to take a risk on kind of deviating from that pipeline, especially on a smaller company that they're not sure the development is going to be there in the future and support them in the future. But as an independent creator, I mean, I use obviously industry standards. Adobe is so ingrained; it's really hard to break that. I've tried that. I've tried that with Affinity. I like Affinity for several reasons. It's a great software, and again, I think for the independent creator, I think it's a great software. But it's a very hard when you're used to obviously using Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Suite. Kind of getting out of that and using a production pipeline is very hard unless you've used ventured out independently, with your own creations there. Uh, Miss Zelly, Denver, Slack loves DaVinci. Yeah, DaVinci. And again, I'm going to dive deeper in it because that's an anomaly. Black magic is really kind of should be a gold standard, I think, for how companies can be run and should be run, SaaS companies. And that's just my opinion. And that could change, obviously, in the future. But as it is right now, um, they're a very well run company, and they treat their end users, and they really think about their end users when they're developing their software and their hardware. And so I wanted to dive into that. Like I said, I love DaVinci too for a lot of reasons. That and the fact that it's a self kind of contained software. You can work on different aspects of the pipeline and stay within that software. Affinity's like that too. It's like that now, where with their layout tool, Photoshop and Illustrator, variation, it's all in one app, so you can move back and forth between each one, and I kind of like that. Obviously, Blender just the same way, which I like. You know, those type of apps are really good. Um, but again, I was wondering, uh, is that the kind of model that creative software companies are kind of banking on, that will give creatives, we won't hamstring or kind of, really nitpick creatives. We'll give them the tools and trust that, and let them earn money off of it, use it commercially. I know some don't let you use it commercially, but still give you the tool free. Um, but they bank on the fact that, you will buy if you do earn money. I know I think Unity's kind of like that. They start at a certain level, you start earning. You have to pay for a license. I think with Unity, I'm not sure what it is. Maybe somebody in our uh, audience there can tell it. Drop in the comments and tell us. But I see that as kind of the future of how good companies are kind of, you know, are going to kind of move in the future, because again, we're starting to see creatives, especially indie creatives, um, start to really leverage these tools such as DaVinci Resolve, and GIMP's been around for a while, which is kind of Photoshop's competitor. Well, not competitor, but equivalent. But GIMP's a capable tool, open source. Handbrake, which is a very capable media encoder. I use it a lot. Very, very, very good media encoder. Free. Affinity, like I said, if you use Affinity and have used Affinity's tools, Affinity's a great tool, and I'm kind of starting to try and adopt it for my personal pipeline. Obviously, I think a lot of people are kind of frustrated with Adobe and Adobe's kind of system. And again, Adobe is just behemoth, and you see a lot of people. And I think Affinity, which was bought by Canva and is owned by Canva, is openly going after Adobe and is openly targeting Adobe and trying to. But again, I think Adobe's a unique kind of in this unique position to where they've got, they've got the traction, they've got the industry, runway, and it's, like I said, very hard for somebody to make a switch. And it's going to be most companies aren't going to do it again. They're not going to change their pipeline. So for production, companies that are in production, this doesn't really pertain to them and it's not relevant. This conversation and this topic is more for the independent creative side, independent creative. I got to get your comment in here, Mr. Dewan. Happy Saturday to you. From when I saw the thumbnail and title of the stream, I knew it's going to be a good one. I know you've used a lot of these projects or a lot of these programs for a lot of your projects. I don't know if I think you use Procreate for your illustration, or maybe Photoshop for the illustration. I don't know if you use Krita. Uh, and I love Krita. Krita's a really nice tool. Kind of a combination of Photoshop and Illustrator in a sense, because you can do vector in there. And it's got some, minor animation tool, but it's not, pipeline as far as a studio, even a small studio using it. Again, I don't know. Maybe. Uh, I'm trying to think. Fortiche, which did Arcane, obviously they did a lot of hand painting, but I'm pretty sure their stuff was probably proprietary or Photoshop. But Photoshop doesn't give you like a painterly. You'd have to really work Photoshop to give you that kind of painterly effect. So they might have used Rebel, and I've tested Rebel. It's not. free. It's a paid version, but it's another organic, natural, artistic illustration program. And but they have really natural blending. That's why Rebel's really good. So it might have been Rebel, but more than likely it was probably um, uh, one of their own softwares that they developed. Uh, so, Blender, obviously, people know Blender. And Blender is another great example of a software, a small software, open source, that's always been open source, that's really now pushing and pressing the industry standard, which has been Maya. Which Maya still has a lot of ground. I mean, obviously Maya has had such a head start. They still got that runway, but now you got a lot more people learning Blender. You got a lot more positions. I've seen a lot more Blender artist positions and Blender studios starting to crop up now. So these tools that I'm kind of talking about are free or reasonable tools, but they are very powerful tools that will allow a creative, an independent creative or a very small studio to adopt and create uh, just as professional quality of work put into it. Everybody knows Unreal and what can be done in Unreal. Uh, it's a great program. Obviously started out, I think, as a game engine along with Unity and such, but it's transformed into this, different. I won't say different, but another, I think they discovered another use for it. And I guess that's the beauty of these tools like these in the hands of independent creators. They can push them in ways that the company didn't initially think about and start to use it in those kind of ways. If you're on a Mac, you love GarageBand. I love Garage. I mean, I use it every once in a while. It's a great audio tool to or instrument, audio tool that you can use, and it's free on the Mac if you got a Mac. Calvary is a tool that was just, and that's what got me to thinking about it because the motion graphic Canva just released, or Canva just acquired Calvary. Calvary was a smaller motion graphic software, and Canva just purchases. So that's what I mean when you got a lot of companies now that are starting to bring in these kind of free tools and aspects of their software to kind of, I guess, press or kind of put pressure on these companies that, again, creatives are kind of feeling the pinch, especially in this economy of having to you know shell out subscriptions for every software there is. Modo is a software. Now they're free now, but only because they've been discontinued. They discontinued Modo, but it's so they're giving it away free. And all these links will be in the show notes, so you can check them out. I'm sure a lot of people know a lot about these software, and these again are just a few. But Modo, I loved Modo. Haven't touched it in a while, but Modo it's still a great tool. It's still a great modeling tool. And again, Luxology, or not Luxology, but the Foundry is the company that is the last owner of the company that discontinued it, but and it was part of their suite. But it came from Luxology, which came from Lightwave. Um, so I mean, I've followed it since Lightwave, since it kind of developed from Lightwave. But again, that's a tool that's free. That's a very professional tool, both Mac and Windows version, that you can start using. Whoa, let me, let me throw this down. Let me throw this down. But it's uh, definitely production, not for a established studio, but for an indie creator. It's definitely a production quality software. And again, I think I stopped. They stopped develop. I was They stopped developing this version or discontinued it at version 17.1. Version 17.1. And I started again. I think I stopped using it at version 10, 10 and a half, and moved over to really learning and getting better with Blender. I mean, getting familiar with Blender, but I still have the software and whatnot. Uh, when you could buy the software, actually buy the software for a one-time price. Obviously, the CapCut, there I think there is a paid version, but they do have a free version that it's not obviously not Premiere or Final Cut, but for the indie creator, it can do the job. It can get the job done. Mr. Dewan, I definitely use Krita for my cartoon art and animation back when I was having technical issues with Clip Studio Paint. A woman on LinkedIn suggested Krita as an alternative. Yeah. I found it some years ago. Uh, I didn't, I had it, loaded it. Uh, wasn't really using it a whole lot, but I would jump into it and really started, kind of really started liking it. And obviously, as Adobe started growing and that started becoming a thing, you started really looking at Krita as an illustrative tool for sure. Clip Studio Paint. Yeah, and that's obviously uh, industry standard. So, you know, if you're looking to get into a studio, you're going to want, to go the industry standard route. And I think I'm not even sure they might have a stripped down version. You can say that better, Dewan. If they, I don't use Clip Studio, but you could say better if they have a free. I'm sure they have a trial version. And I think I've seen on their site a trial version that you can check out and do. But I was looking up, and really the average, kind of average ROI on kind of that thinking of giving a free trial or companies using a free trial type of thing or a free version is about 15 to 20% that the person will upgrade or end up buying, the full version. So, it's not really, it's good. 20% is fair, it's almost a quarter. But I think that, I think that exponentially grows when you put behind it um, kind of some meaning on really treating and thinking about the end user, which is where I feel like Da Vinci does, or Black Magic does really well, you know, and allows them to. I'm hoping to hit NAB next year, the NAB convention, National Associated Broadcasting, I think it is, out in Vegas. I'm hoping to hit that next year. But I kind of caught a little bit of the CEO of Black Magic's kind of keynote from it, or his talk from it, and he was talking about why they're able to give free updates, do like one time, purchases and stuff like that. And they just, well, it's in beta, their new update 21, which is massive. It's a massive update and they could easily charge for it. But he was basically saying they've seen an uptick in people buying the studio version, which has afforded them to give free updates and do development behind it, type of thing. Hold on, I think our special guest may be logging in there. or jumping in there, uh, uh, which has afforded them. And I'm glad. I'm actually glad he jumped in, or they jumped in, because they did attend NAB. So hopefully they can give us a little, update on how NAB went, and what he kind of pulled from it. But again, he was saying that that is kind of the reason why they're able to give free updates, and I guess give not the studio version, but the free version free, because a lot of they've seen a big uptick on people buying the studio version. Which, again, my question is, are they playing for the long haul, that they'll just get invested in their ecosystem? So, say with Black Magic, their thing is, I don't think it would just work. I don't think that format would just work if they were selling software solely. They sell hardware, video production hardware and cameras and all of that. So I'm sure their kind of thinking is that the people that are getting into using DaVinci Resolve and loving DaVinci Resolve will move into buying their Black Magic camera, or really invest in their products. Uh, I want to make sure that I bring our special guest in, so I don't let them think we're running him here. But super excited that he's able to jump in with us, type of thing. There he is, the goat.
What up?
There he is, the goat, the goat, the goat, the goat, the goat himself.
Am I good? Can you hear me?
You are good, Mr. Jonathan.
I appreciate it.
You
Thank
are
you, man.
good. I was telling them, I'm always happy when you kicked off season 6 for us, so earlier this year. So, but I'm always glad when guests come back, and you message me that you'd love to jump on and kind of talk about kind of the topic, which I'm really glad you came on, because I know you're deep and heavy into Comfy UI right now, which is kind of another free tool that's out there available for creatives. But I had this. I guess the topic came up to me because, again, I've had this conversation with other colleagues, but I've noticed that companies like Canva and companies like Black Magic are really giving creatives these free. Well, I hate to say free because nothing's ever free, but they're powerful tools that creative can use and really go out and immediately, I guess, start earning money. I know some start putting caps on, using it commercially, and once you
Right.
hit a certain amount of revenue, then yeah, you need to start, a license. But this prevalence of softwares, like companies like Black Magic, companies like Blender, you're using Comfy UI. They're companies that are really pushing these more established mainstream studio or companies that are producing these softwares now, type of thing. And my question, I guess, to myself, and I guess to others, is that kind of the model now, where creatives are, or companies are trusting and just giving the creatives the tools, the full tools, and just saying, here, go make money with it. And we're trusting that you're going to come and invest in the ecosystem and upgrade to the paid version, if there's a paid version. Do you think, I
Right.
mean, is that something that you thought about, or seen, or just, with the software that you're using?
Yeah, because I always equivalent it to, like, I call it the Fortnite model, because Fortnite was one of the first games that, at least that I know of, that will allow anybody to download the game. But then the way that they monetize it is by, like season passes and skins and special features. So it's like they give you the game, but you end up spending a lot more once you're invested inside that ecosystem, which is kind of smart, because typically a video game is what, like 60, $70. Instead of charging you that up front, I know people that spent like hundreds and thousands of dollars inside of Fortnite. So I
Yeah,
know
I
that,
know. Just
so
buying
it's
skins and weapons and things like that. So I
yep.
guess, why do you think that there was just this shift to subscription? I mean, and paying for software where now it's this constant thing. And where it used to be, you felt like you owned the software, it was yours. You didn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to upgrade, and it just felt different when you paid for it, and it was your, which is why I love Black Magic. Again, that's I think that's what sets Black Magic apart. Is you the software is yours. You buy it,
You
it's a
keep
one
getting the
time fee,
upgrades for free too.
and the upgrades are free. Where
Yeah.
they could easily charge, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people wouldn't mind paying it because of the way the company is going. They would, for those major upgrades, which they may do down the line. He said
Yeah.
it's a possibility, but he's also said why they don't, because people they are buying the studio version of the software,
Yeah.
which I guess leads them to buy maybe the cameras or more of the gear or their panels, which kind of they're not solely a software company. They have hardware, which is their thing too. So
Yeah. So I think every company is going to be different. Like you said, Black Magic. I mean, they're in a whole different space because they do sell a lot of hardware. Like I'm using a Black Magic camera right now. I bought this maybe like 6, 7 years ago.
yeah,
And it came with the professional version of Black Magic, and I haven't
yeah,
had to pay for any upgrade. So it's like I bought the camera, they gave me the software free, and I've never had to pay for the software again. But I feel like they since they do sell the hardware, they could kind of lean a lot into that. And then if
yeah,
you're using the software, then you're gonna stay, same thing as I was saying before, Fortnite, you're inside that ecosystem. So it's like now I might wanna get the editing panel because I'm using Resolve so much, maybe I wanna get the editing panel for that. So they're able to sell you in other ways. I know with ZBrush, like, they had the thing of when you bought the software, you got upgrades for free for life
yeah, yeah,
until they got bought out by Maxon. The Maxon, kinda killed
yeah.
that. But
And they
that
used to
was,
have like, well, it was the stripped down version of it, Sculptress, because I had it.
yeah,
That
yep.
that you could play in, and it was pretty good. I mean, for what it was, obviously it was to get you to buy into ZBrush, but that kind of thing is, you know, it seems like I'm seeing a lot less of just, it's more trials, like a week trial. You got 2 weeks to try it, the full
It's
features, and or 30 days to get the full features in. And
I think it's because, the model is not sustainable when you do that. Like, people that buy ZBrush, they coulda had it for 20 years and bought it 20 years ago and never paid for another upgrade, right? But when you think about development costs, then it's like, how do they develop the updates if they're not making money? If everybody's buying it and then never paying for upgrades, then it's like, there's that give and take there. So I feel
yeah,
like I think that's why we started seeing a lot of companies go with this subscription route. Because
yeah,
I know early in my career, like I bought a copy of Cinema 40, I bought After Effects, I bought Photoshop, like I bought what I needed to work. And I wasn't upgrading every single year. Like I would upgrade maybe every 3 years if I saw like a big update that was coming that, I might need for work. But
mhm,
upgrading every 3 years opposed to getting that monthly income for those companies, there's a big difference when it comes to being able to monetize that. So
that
I feel
is the
like that's
truth.
why a lot of companies went subscription, but now we're starting to see that shift where a lot of these companies are, like I said, following the Fortnite and Blender model where you give it to the public and you kind of let your software speak for itself. Like I know Blender is free, but I
Yeah.
know people that actually pay for it, and then people send donations
Oh
and
yeah, donations and everything. And again, like I was mentioning, now I'm starting to see a lot of Blender positions.
yeah,
Studios asking for Blender artists, whereas they weren't before. So that thing to where it's an open source, software that's really pushing kind of that thought of, oh, I need to have Maya to really create something or really put something out there.
right. But I mean, because I mean, the reason that those positions are coming up is because you have a generation of artists that were learning Blender. Like my generation, we learned Cinema 4D. Cinema 4D wasn't an industry standard when I first started, but so many of us were learning cinema when we were in school that it almost became a necessity to say, like, we're looking for a cinema artist because that's where the talent pool was. But now, fast forward, a lot of the newer artists, they came up on Blender because, it was free, it was accessible. They didn't have to worry about pirating software. A lot of their favorite YouTubers online are using that software. So that dealt into a lot of it. And so it comes to a point to where you're no longer seeing as many, newer Cinema 4D artists. They're all Blenders. So of course you're going to say, okay, this is where the talent pool is at. We need to pull from the talent pool. What are they using? And we're going to put that into our pipeline.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it seemed like you saw a lot. At least I did, or at least I thought I did early on, where you got a lot of people that wanted to learn Blender, but were afraid that, but also wanted to get a job in the industry, and were
Yeah,
afraid that that wouldn't translate, or why would I, should I spend time learning Blender when
right,
the studios are asking me, do you know Maya? And the industry standard kind of pipeline is a thing. So that's what I mean. It's obviously a studio that's ingrained or has been using my it may be different. I'm pretty sure it's different now with Blender, because Blender has established itself a lot more as being able to slide into production
right.
pipeline, whereas earlier it wasn't. So studios weren't really willing to take the risk of using Blender in their production pipeline. Um, but now these companies that are kind of, like I said, kind of gearing and kind of going like straight to the creative as far as the tools and introducing these tools. I was talking about some of the tools that I kind of threw up in there, and these are just a handful. I don't even think I threw up Audacity, which I didn't mention before. That's another free tool that's just great for audio and audio cutting. Obviously, it can get the job done. Um, you know, I didn't throw Comfy UI in. You're using that as an IA, node base. I kind of looked at it. Obviously, for me, node base is, always been challenging. Whatever
Yeah,
software
same
I
here.
was using, node base is just a challenging thing. But I opened it up and was looking at it. It's interesting. Now you've dialed in, dove into it and kind of, used it a little. Kind of give your thoughts on just using it in a kind of one production environment, and then two from an indie point of view. How viable is it using to get indie work done?
Yeah, so I could say I first started looking at Comfy because I was on a panel talk last year at SIGGRAPH when it was in Vancouver. And on the panel with me was one of the creative directors at Amazon. And she was saying that previously they were looking for 3D artists, like that was the job postings they were putting up. But starting last year, they were looking for Comfy UI artists, and that's the direction that they were shifting in, which I thought was really interesting because the more I started talking to bigger companies, it was coming up a lot more that they were looking at using Comfy UI because, for one, you can run it offline. You don't have to run it on the internet. So you can literally unplug your computer from the internet and you could build out your own data sets with your own IP, and you don't have to worry about it getting leaked online at all. And which you don't get if you're using like Cdance or Nano Banana, those
Yeah,
other big companies. Like you have
yeah,
to upload it to their server, which there's always a risk of having
yeah,
a data breach when you do it that way.
yeah.
And so that's when I started looking at Comfy UI and just trying to get myself at least acclimated with it, just so I would be familiar in case it did come up with work, in which it did come up with a client project recently. But the more I dove into it, the more interesting it got because you still like if you're doing anything for like broadcast or that's going to be on air, you always have to look at the legality of it. And even though Comfy UI is free to use and a lot of the models are free to use, if you look at the legality of it, some of the models actually aren't free to use. And that's where, like, when I was talking to the lawyers at the One Network and they were going through all the fine print and everything, we found out that some of the models that we're using, it was like if your company makes over $1 million, then you had to pay this much in excess fees. And some
Yeah.
models you straight up had to pay for licensing fees. So even though it seems like it's free, it's actually, you have to read the fine print all the time because everything isn't what it seems.
Oh, mm. And, and I guess that would seem like that's the possible issue moving forward with all of this, that you have to dive into the fine print of it, because again, everything isn't always what it seems when you start using those tools. And I think more, I guess, and I hope that's the way that AI is going, that it's going to be kind of trying to kind of build a self-contained database. Get you to
Right.
use a more self-contained and create a more self-contained database. And that's what I try and tell businesses as well. Start to create your own gallery of art that you can create, and your own assets, like your own, stock, iStock, or your own stock
Yeah.
library of graphics and images and photos that you can create other assets from and pull from. So, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
I
You
mean,
you got to worry about that.
that's what Amazon was doing, right? Because they have a whole plethora of IP that they were like, we could just build our own databases off our own IP and not even have to worry about the legalities of if Disney stuff gets mixed in with our stuff, or, Paramount or whatever else is out there. It's like if we have our own closed off consignment on our own stations, then we don't have to worry about, any type of breach of IP out there.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Mr. Dewan, let me throw this over here in front of me. Audacity is my go-to tool for advanced audio editing and recording my voice for video. And that again, is, I guess, the beauty of free and low-cost tools for the indie creatives. Obviously, this does not pertain to companies and studios that again have a pipeline that it's already established. I'm talking more companies that are going and giving create indie creators the tools, and are they banking that, you know they will stay within this ecosystem, and what is the ratio, do more people upgrade with a free tool once they buy? I know that's kind of the back and forth thing I see with in the Blender talk of people
Right.
donating versus, just using the tool and stuff like that, and trying to be really supportive of it. That's another model that, I'm amazed at it still being the way it is, and
Well, a lot
being
of people
as
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say a lot of people don't realize that, because I watch those Blender cons when they have them up online. That
yeah,
big
yeah.
festival they have
I
every
do
year.
too. Yeah.
The CEO, I guess he recently retired, but he used to go up
Yeah,
on
he
stage
retired.
to give the talk.
Is it Don?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you his name.
Rosenthal. Don Rosenthal. Yeah.
But he would always kick it off by going up there and kind of being transparent on, this is how much money we made in the past year. And they would even break it down to like, okay, we got like Epic Games give us a mega grant, so we got this much, and
Yeah.
Adidas gave us this much, and Nike. And the one thing I always thought was very peculiar is they have the Blender marketplace. And what a lot of people don't put into that equation is Blender actually takes a percentage if somebody, buys a plugin on there. So like if I develop or a plugin for Blender, I put it on a Blender marketplace, and let's say I put it up there for like $10 or whatever. I
Yeah.
think Blender takes 30%. So they would take
Oh
$3 out of
wow.
that sale, and then, I would get 7 out of it. So they're making money
Yeah.
within their own marketplace as well, which is pretty interesting because I know a lot of people coming from like Cinema 4D going to Blender. Like Blender doesn't have like the motion tools or the MoGraph tools, and
Mm-hmm.
people will make plugins for the MoGraph tools for Blender. So it's like if a cinema artist goes over to Blender, they might buy the $40 plugin that will make it work a little bit more like cinema. And so therefore, Blender is actually making money on the backside.
Yeah. 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 Well, is Unreal's marketplace free? Because I know a lot of stuff. I've downloaded a lot of assets from Unreal. And
Yeah,
is
I
that
mean, thing
how
over
their
there, like
marketplace works, or is their marketplace
they,
completely free?
they have free assets on their marketplace, but they take a lot less percentage. I think they take the least out of auto publishers out there. So I think their cut is like 10%. So the developer will get 90%. Even on the gaming side, like if you put a video game up on their marketplace, they only take 10%, and the end user gets 90%, but they're still making money on the back end. But they make
Mm,
most of their money from Fortnite, I believe.
really? Wow.
Or at least for now. They said that there's been a decline in Fortnite users, so I think they're trying to figure out.
What's next?
Yeah, I mean, they can't ride that forever, right?
No,
Yeah,
the
they should
train's
have thought
not
about
gonna.
that
It's
earlier.
not gonna stay on the tracks forever. Well,
Right, right.
it may, but it may not go at the speed forever. It may inch along, but I don't know.
Right.
Jeez. Everybody just tuning in. This is our kind of our fireside chat. Mr. Jonathan, past yeah. Oh, my bad. When I brought you in, Jonathan, I wanted you to kind of tell, even though this wasn't scheduled, obviously, I wanted you to kind of give a little bio and background on who you are and what you do. Obviously, I know you're the GOAT, but and normally I would read your bio, but you popping in, I'm gonna let you, tell the viewers who you are.
I mean, this would be the opportunity you get to show your podcast, right? Tell them to go back to the episode at the
Yeah,
beginning
that
of the
too.
season
Or
and
go
click
back to
on
the
that there.
very first episode.
But
But
no,
hey,
for
the very first episode, Jonathan dropped a lot of gems in there. You definitely got that aren't necessarily going to be dropped here. That you definitely got to go back and check out. That was a amazing episode. He kicked off season 6.
that was a good
In
one.
fire,
But now, just I guess just to give a quick recap though, yeah. So my name is Jonathan Winbush. A lot of people know me by Winbush. I'm a motion graphics artist by my day trade. This is actually my 20th year professionally in the industry. So I can't believe I've been out in LA since 2006. It's been a crazy ride, but I've worked with, like I got my start with Adam Sandler at Happy Madison. I've worked with a whole plethora of studios from Warner Brothers, DC, Marvel, Netflix, like pretty much ran a gamut across Hollywood. And that's for motion graphics and for TV and movies. Then I dabbled a little bit in video games and VR. So if there's a screen, more than likely I've done some type of motion graphics works for it. A lot of people know me through YouTube. I think that's
yeah.
where you found me at Dawn doing my tutorials on there. I've been doing for the past 8 years, I want to say, just trying to get back to the community. A lot of Cinema 4D tutorials, After Effects, a whole lot of Unreal Engine because that's when Unreal was starting to pop off and everything there. And then just recently signed a book publishing deal, so I'll be releasing a book towards the
Author,
end of
you
the year.
definitely gonna have
So
to come back on the book tour.
that sounds crazy to have a book tour, but that's something that I've been wanting to cross off on my bucket list, and I've been blessed with the opportunity to actually get a publishing deal to write a book. So really excited about getting that out later this year. And I'm
And the book's going
definitely
to
going
be
to have to talk to
on
you about.
what's the book? What's the book going to be on? Motion graphics or
Yep. So specifically, motion graphics for Unreal Engine artists
okay,
because I'm dropping a course with School of Motion that's going to be out in June.
yeah.
They have the brand new broadcast tools, so I did a full course for that. But I've always wanted to do it in written form as well. So basically, going to be going over the same thing, but be able to have a physical book that I can have at the bookstore, or even when I do talking engagements. I speak at a lot of events. It's always nice to have a physical item with you that people can
Oh yeah,
purchase if they like. So
yeah. Take away. And I was just mentioning, which I got a couple of things that you got me on the PC thing. I am going to get me a PC eventually,
yeah, I don't know
Jonathan.
about now. I mean, it's like with these
Now, yeah,
tariffs, it's
no,
kind of crazy. It's
now
like,
it's kind of crazy.
yeah,
But you just and I said earlier that I did. I think next year I am going to put it on my calendar to hit NAB. You were just out there.
yeah.
How was the vibe out there? I mean, what did you kind of see? I know you did some talks out there, and you were out there. I know presenting for Dell and doing some stuff with Dell. But what's the vibe? What was kind of the vibe that you picked up from there? And you know,
Yeah, the vibe this year, I'm seeing a lot of Gaussian splats again. That's been coming up on the rise again for some reason. Like it went dormant for a while, but now a lot of companies are back in the Gaussian splat era. And then AI, of course, came up a lot. It seemed to be split right down the middle. I kind of found myself in the middle. Like I don't hate AI, but I'm
yeah.
not like gun ho about it. But a lot of people that I talk to, it's either they're pro AI or they're anti AI. It was like not a lot of really like cross between, which was kind of interesting to see. But all the big companies, they're using it, but just
Oh man. And it's funny. I was just reading I think it was an email blog from uh Andrew um from Andrew from Kramer,
The
Blender
the
Guru.
Guru,
Yeah,
Blender Guru. Yeah.
yeah, because evidently OpenAI supported or gave a donation to Blender and was going to do that every year. And then I guess Blender kind of backtracked. They said they were going to take it 1 year, but then not going to
Oh,
do it
that's
as as an
that was
ongoing thing.
it's the
And
company that makes Claude. That
yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
company did a big donation, but
yeah,
yeah, I
did a
don't.
big donation, and they took it, and but then they kind of backtracked. They were going to do it every year, but then they kind of backtracked, and Andrew jumped on them about not embracing AI or feeling like they shouldn't embrace AI, which was interesting because I saw uh, there's a couple of other guys that I followed, Blender Brothers, Ryu and Josh from Blender Bros. But he was talking. He was just demoing a video. I guess there's a plugin for Blender that connects to Claude
Oh, it's
that you
just
can
using it.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you can put in prompts and it'll create stuff in Blender. So it's just interesting. Like you said, everybody's kind of figuring out how they can adopt it, and you're kind of falling on one side of the fence or the other. I'm kind of like you. I'm not hot or cold out. It's a tool, and if you
Yeah.
can use it, use it. If you can't, don't use it.
The thing is, I don't think a lot of people, everybody, it's overhyped. Like, like I've used AI and been experimenting with it and stuff like that. But the stuff that people don't tell you is AI is kind of expensive. Like, it's
It
not what
is.
they were hyping it up to be, because it's like I recently started using Claude because I'm trying to develop a light gun game, and I don't know how to code right. Like I could code a little bit, but not to
Yeah.
that extreme. So I was using Claude to help me on the coding side of it. And, I'll get deep into my coding session. The next thing I know is like you exceeded your limit. See you back in 5 hours. I'm like, I'm paying you $20 a month. What do you mean? See me back in 5 hours? So it's like, but
Well,
it's like if
you
you
can
want to
talk to
keep
me
going, you could
now
give
if
us
you give
more
me a
money.
little more money.
Yeah, yeah. But I talked to people, they pumped in like hundreds and
Oh
thousands of
yeah,
dollars in the
you
cloud just so
burn
they could
through
keep
credits,
moving.
and
I'm just
that's I
like,
guess that's the rub or the catch is yeah, they know you're gonna have to burn through some credits, unless
yeah,
unless you're really good at prompting and that type of thing. But even then,
it's
you're
yeah,
gonna burn through that stuff quick, You
yeah,
really
that's the
are.
thing people don't tell you. Like I saw people started asking more, like because there's influencers out there that are being paid by AI companies to kind of showcase this stuff, and people are like, how many credits does that cost, or this, that, and the third. And a lot of influencers, I'll see them respond like, oh, I don't even know, because they gave me a bunch of free credits to use this. So it's
Well,
like
you
the
should be
stuff that
telling
they
your
could be showing
audience.
could cost like $2,000, but they don't even know it. It's like it's nuts. It's just crazy out there, and all these companies that are adopting the AI models, it's like they find out real quick, like, oh, this is actually cost them more than just to
Yeah,
have the
because they
artist
gotta
in
have
a,
that data center, and there's a lot of, like I said, data centers, and just the
yep,
power. People don't get the power that it takes to run, you know, AI and data centers and all of this stuff, and everybody wants it, type of
yeah.
thing.
I mean, that was the reason why I thought Comfy was kind of interesting, but I even noticed with a lot of the models on Comfy that used to be open source that you could run locally, they're no longer like the better they get, they stop making them open source and they want you to pay credits to use those now. So it's like as they were getting better, they're like, oh, hold up, we got to make some money on this, and they started token gating some of those models. So it's kind of interesting to see, like they feed it to you like it's free, and then as soon as you get locked in, they're like, oh yeah, it's not free no more
Yeah,
because
they take that feature, and that's another thing too, because I noticed because it just happened to be on another software I use. I use the free version of the software, but all of a sudden you get a notification from you know uh, the company saying our terms have changed, and now this feature yes is no
yep.
longer available on that. It's like
Yeah. Or you gotta be careful because some of these companies just even shut down, like Sora shut down out of nowhere.
Yeah,
So imagine if you had all your assets in Shore and then it
yeah,
just wipes out. So it's
yeah.
like,
Which I guess is another thing that these kind of softwares, or kind of, I won't say lower softwares, but more not the mainstream softwares or industry standard softwares, of why I guess companies don't want to run the risk of using them, because you got to worry about, will the software be around in 5 or 10 years, and will they still have development for it in 5 to 10 years? I mean, I mean, I use InDesign now, but Quark Express was my jam then. I haven't even touched Quark Express, and there was PageMaker. Think of a studio that kind of got them, that had PageMaker as their thing, and then had to shift and move, or had
yeah.
we were
I
using
mean,
Quark, and then Quark kind of went the way of the Dodo or to the side, and you have to get another software. So it's those kind of considerations too. The softwares are great. I mean, and that's what I mean. There are free software, obviously, that's free, that, you're not sure whether the company's going to be around the next year. But then
right.
there's software, obviously, that it's like Blender, it's like Krita, it's like DaVinci, that they have a free option or a very reasonable option, that, and they have a solid background behind them, and you know they're going to be around. They may be open source, and you may have to depend on the community to
Right.
get kind of support. But the community is large, and there's enough people out there that are using the software that you can get support. So it's those interesting things. And I just saw where Maxon, I don't have that up here, Autograph, Maxon just
Yeah.
released
Autograph.
Autograph.
Yep.
So it's getting, you got these companies that are releasing these tools and giving these tools away. So that was my thought, is, are they thinking, are they just using these as lead magnets to get,
I think so.
like,
Yeah.
obviously to get people into the ecosystem and putting pressure. But oh, how this puts pressure on companies, obviously, like Adobe, and that, again, Affinity was bought by Canva. So, and Canva is directly going after Adobe,
Right.
directly
Right.
going
Yeah.
after. You got these companies that are directly going after because they see the frustrations, I guess, that people are kind of going through. So are you, getting, is that this climate where companies are now starting to fill this spot for creators and give creators this ability to, like I said, make money and then be reward, and then they reward them by saying, hey, man, this is a great company. And, I tote DaVinci all the time,
Yeah.
and
Same here.
I did start on the free the not studio version, but I ended up buying the studio version, as I loved it. I didn't really need it, but
And it's cheap too. That's the
it
thing.
was,
Like it's
yeah,
not
it's a
that
one
much.
time thing,
Yeah.
and the other thing that I think was really cool, what uh Da Vinci did, or I, when I got it, I got a, obviously they sent me a license key. They could have emailed it to me, but they mailed me a hard copy kind of case, little envelope case, which was cool. So it felt tangible. It felt like I had something tangible, even though on the inside it was a number, a slip of paper with my
I still
license
got
number.
my I mean, that's
Yeah,
important to keep because you need that if you get a new computer and you need that serial number because it's like
yeah,
I lost it before and I was installing DaVinci on a new system and I had to go and email them and contact them and go through all this, so, yeah, I
yeah.
mean, keep that piece of paper.
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah, and plus it's printed on the inside of the little card there. It's a pretty cool card,
Yep,
but like I said, it kind of gave that old time experience of, you bought the software and you had something tangible in your hands. And you walked away with something tangible in their hands. And so my I guess I'm excited about those companies that kind of think about the creative, and trust that, okay, we'll give you, we're not going to hamstring you with the tools, and we'll trust that you know you're going to be an evangelist and really push this tool forward. Which again, I think that's what allows Black Magic to give us updates like 21
Yeah.
and give us free software that's pretty darn near 90%. A person really wouldn't have to, they really, an editor or a YouTuber or something like that, they could really stick with the free version and get 90% of what they need done,
Yeah.
type of thing. And again, Black Magic could easily charge, for
I mean,
these
they're about to,
upgrades.
right? Weren't they about to do that? And then they kind of pulled back this year?
Well, he initially, because I saw like his talk before NAB, and he said it's a possibility that they could charge for
Yeah.
it. They could. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He just said it was something that they could charge for. But then when they came to showed up at NAB, he was saying, and then when it was released, everybody was, out there, news was out that they weren't charging for it. But then that's what I was saying earlier, that he said, I caught like his talk at NAB, a little bit of it, and he was saying why they didn't. He said, we didn't charge for it because we've seen a big growth in people
Yeah.
buying the studio version. So, again, like you had mentioned earlier, that wouldn't work. That kind of model obviously wouldn't work if they were just solely selling software. But again, their thing is they got cameras, they got consoles, and they got revenue streams outside of the software. So
Yeah.
obviously they can afford, it could do that. But again, they could go the way of Adobe and just say, hey, we want the money and just charge you subscription subscription. They could be that kind of company to do that. But I think that's what makes them, I think that's where their growth is starting to come, because they're treating their end users good. And I just hope it lasts.
I think perpetual licenses are important, and I think that's what they kind of saw because with Adobe they used to have perpetual licensing, and they went the way of Creative Cloud. You had to get the subscription. If you didn't have the subscription, then you can't use the software. And so here's DaVinci saying like, here's free software, but if you want to buy it, you can. And if you buy it, then it's yours forever. You don't ever have to worry about us taking it away from you, which I feel that builds community, like a lot, that builds
Yeah.
trust in your company. And like you said, like you evangelize for it. I tell people I use it, like I pay for Creative Cloud and I don't even use Premiere. Like I use DaVinci
Yeah, I do.
over Premiere. So it's
I
like,
don't. I
I mean,
don't.
I showed you how strong it is. It's just like,
I don't. It's just, and I talk to when I talk to people about, because I do talks about branding and brand design and that type of thing. But I tell people, brand really what it comes down to is customer experience. It comes down to customer experience. If a customer has a bad experience with your brand, I don't care how good your brand is, eventually they're going to leave. They're going to go to somebody that treats them better and looks at them better and respects them. And I think
yeah,
they're
'cause I've
starting
done
to
it.
see that, you know. They think about their clients, or they think about their customers, they think about their end users. Now again, hey, I don't know what the future holds, but right now and up until this point, they've treated, they've done well by their end users, and obviously it's rewarded them. People have bought the software, a lot more users. I've seen a lot more creators online now and YouTube channels, doing DaVinci, tutorials and things like that.
Yep.
So it's growing. And it's a soft. They've always been in their color. And that's another thing. Even in their free, their color portion is industry standard. So that's what I mean.
Yep.
When you give away something that's industry standard in the free version, you know, that says a lot. And that does, create loyalty. And I think that's what the big brands are good at. Well, I won't say good at, but they think about.
So you would think they
Yeah,
would, but yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
I'll say they think about. They you have to keep it in mind that obviously the bigger you get, and it's harder worldwide to keep a more cohesive brand. I'll say, and a
Yeah.
branding kind of check. The bigger you get, but and you know you have to think about, you know, am I treating the customer right? Am I giving him the best experience that I can? Because again, ultimately, I feel, you know, if you don't treat you right, that's why I left Sprint. Sprint didn't treat me right.
Right. Nah, I
So
get
you
that.
know that's what I mean. You just, if you don't treat a client right or a customer right, somebody's gonna step in and treat them right and give them what they need, and that person is gonna, you know, they're gonna be an evangelist for that company.
And sometimes you gotta step away because then that makes the companies kind of sit back and reflect why did we lose you to whatever company that you went to and what do we need to do better so that doesn't happen again.
And I'm wondering whether Adobe's feeling that or thinking about that, or even I'm pretty sure they're thinking about it and having a discussion, because again, they're starting to see these companies openly say they're coming after and challenging, you know, what they're doing. So,
I
you
mean, I know
know,
Maxon does. That's why I feel like they made that power play with Autograph and made that free because I think they saw the descent for a lot of people that they weren't happy with the way After Effects was being, developed, and it just felt like After Effects is always like 10 years behind. So now, but they never had a competitor, right? There's never really been a competitor to After Effects. I feel like when last year Maxon bought Autograph, they went silent on it for a bit. They made a big announcement. They brought it out to NAB, and I think this is the most excitement that I've seen around Maxon in a long time. Like I was at the Maxon booth and they were showcasing it. People are coming over and people are like generally excited to learn about Autograph because it's like here's an After Effects competitor, even though they're not in their words, they're not saying After Effects competitor, but I told them like I'll say it for you because that's exactly
I mean,
what you're
it
doing,
looks
right?
like, I mean,
Like
it
I'm not on the
basically
payroll,
looks like
so
After Effects.
but I mean, honestly, like I installed it. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but I'm kind of excited because just, being at the show floor and messing around with it and the guy that created it was there and showcasing it and it looks a lot like what Unreal Engine was trying to do with their motion design tools, how they were trying to kind of build like VizRT or After Effects within Unreal. But the thing that kind of always gets in the way is it's inside of Unreal, right? So
Yeah.
I know that could be kind of deterring for a lot of people that they're like, I just want to have like an After Effects like experience, which that's what Autograph is. And it runs in pretty, I don't want to say real time, but the creator was saying it runs real time and it was running pretty fast. I haven't ran it for myself yet, but I can see it being a real competitor because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, competition is good, so it might make Adobe look at After Effects and be like, "Hey, we have a real competitor now. We gotta start upping our game because we've been complacent for too long."
Well, I mean, I haven't dove into it deeply, but I did open it up and kind of, you know, move around a little into it, and I was like, okay, wow, this is a pretty snappy tool, and it does kind of have that After Effects feel. So I felt like, wow, you know,
Yeah,
this really could have people just take that step away, you know, and try and learn it, and it really wouldn't have too much of a, like I said, it really wouldn't be too big of a learning curve because, like I said, when I opened it up, I was like, man, this really does look like, kind of looks like
and
After
the
Effects.
nice thing about it is where I think Maxon has a position of power is they own Red Giant. And so
mm,
they have all the Red Giant plugins. So you have Magic Bullet Looks, you have the Trapcode plugins, you have all the stuff that Red Giant, the plugins they have in After Effects, those are all inside of Autograph, and they're there natively. Like if you have your Max on One account, then you have that built into it. Then I know they got. I'm not sure if I could announce the other plugins, but they have some other big plugin companies that also ported over to Autograph. So I know a lot of people say like the hard thing about moving away from After Effects is your legacy plugins. Like people will be using
mm, yeah,
the plugins forever, so it'd be hard to
yeah.
move away. And it's like Autograph has a lot of those big plugins already there day one.
Yeah, yeah. And that was kind of my I guess my sticking point when I was kind of playing around with Affinity and trying to design open up, you know, some of my files like, man, this plugin or
Yeah.
this filter doesn't translate over type of
Right,
thing.
right.
So it's like, you'd have to, while these apps are good, obviously you're going to have to kind of learn their methodology, and some things aren't going to translate. While they may open up the file, some things
Right.
obviously may not translate over completely. But again, for the independent creator, it opens up these options of creative tools that, again, they don't necessarily have to go the subscription route and feel like they're handicapped with the features or tools and not be as creative as they would like. You know,
No, I
I
mean,
don't know
it's
if you saw. I'm sorry, I don't know if you
no, no
saw.
good.
Da Vinci just added a photo tab now, so they're kind of, once they flesh that out, that's going to be like a Lightroom for videographers.
Oh,
You
no, I
know,
didn't see that.
yeah, they added that was one of the big things with the new update. That's why I said they could 21. It's still in beta, but it hasn't fully reset. But 21 was a huge update, and that's why I was saying that's why a lot of people were afraid they were going to start charging, because it was a huge update. And that was one of the things that they changed. They added a photo tab now. And again, it's the first iteration, but once they start developing it and fleshing it out, it's going to be a Lightroom for videographers. Now, is it going to replace Lightroom? No, because photographers aren't going to. Somebody that's just a photographer is not going to
Right.
buy DaVinci Resolve just to use the photo tab. They'll get Lightroom. So that's what I mean. Keep in context of what who the tool is really used for, and whether it's going to make an impact. And I think that's going to make a big impact for a lot of videographers. And it's going to be another thing that's going to be a big hit to Adobe, because you don't have to jump over to Photoshop to do anything now. I can just slide over to this photo tab now and do any
Right.
retouching or whatnot. So I feel Adobe's feeling this pressure now from these companies, whether small or mid-sized, that aren't the behemoths that they are, that are really, like I said, giving creatives these tools that are pushing the company forward, I think.
I think it's much needed because I think they just been complacent for so long because there's been nobody there to really come up and challenge them on a
Challenges.
lot of these applications. So now that they get challenged, I always say competition is good. Like you need strong competition because then it's better for the end user because everybody's going to be vying for your business. So now Adobe has to sell themselves to you like, hey, we want you to stay within our subscription base. And these are the reasons why. These are what we're upgrading. And this is what we do better than the competitors. They can no longer just be like, we're the industry standard and nobody can touch us because there's no competition. So
Yeah,
I feel like
no.
it's good.
Yeah, no, competition is the best thing. And, and we were talking about just non-development. Moto is another one. I love the software, and I have
They're
the
out of business
software.
though, aren't they?
No, they just discontinued. I was
That's
telling
what, yeah,
everybody the Foundry discontinued it, so you can now download. They stopped at 17.1, version 17.1. So you can, and they're giving it away free. So you can now
hmm,
download it free. You just won't get any support, you know.
right.
But
But
it's
it's
a
open
K.
source, right? So the
Yeah,
community can go in and mess with it.
yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know if they. That was a great software. It really was. They just, you get these companies that just, they don't really, they get it, and then they'll like play. They're like a kid. They'll play with it a while, and they'll get bored with it, or something else will come, and they just stopped
Right,
developing. I mean, it was a great piece of software, and it still is a capable modeler. That's why I say for the indie creator, it's still a professional modeler, even animation tool, but it was known for being a really good polygonal modeler.
right.
But that's why I say for the indie creator, it's a great tool to pick up. It's a learning curve is a little much, but I
So
liked
maybe
it.
they felt like because Blender is such on the I mean, Blender is a capable tool, so maybe they just felt like, I mean, why even compete when they still have Nuke and stuff, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
they still have
put
dudes
all
and
their
all of
eggs in
that.
that basket.
You know, I mean, it was near and dear to my heart because they came from the moto or the light wave camp, so that's
Yep.
why I loved it. And, you know, but again, another free tool that is out there for the creator, type of thing.
I mean, the
Uh,
more free tools, the better. Because, like, I remember when I was coming up, we had to pirate everything, so it's always a risk. If you wanted to get into this business, I mean, you was taking a big risk to your
oh
computer.
man,
So it's
and
like,
I guess that's another thing that played into it. You know, why pirating, I guess, got or kind of started going down. You know, companies were just like, give them a free trial or, you know, that type of thing. So, you know, it doesn't push them to steal it or that type of thing. But yeah, those I remember those days of especially music. What was it? What was the
like,
man? I
it's in
can't
my
remember.
yeah, LimeWire and Napster.
LimeWire, yeah, LimeWire was the one that I used a lot. LimeWire. I was like, "Oh, we met," or should I say that online?
No, I think you're good. No, I don't. Is LimeWire is that even still around
I
or?
don't even think it's still around.
Yeah.
LimeWire, Napster. No, I don't even think they're still around. But yeah, so
Well, the Napster guy went and started Spotify, I think. Like, that was that guy.
okay, okay. Spotify.
Yeah.
Well, at least time you did it right this time, I guess, or
Yeah,
illegal.
I mean,
They
yeah,
yeah, that was
he made
before the
right on what he
laws
did.
came in, so I guess it wasn't. I guess what he did, I don't know, was it legal? Maybe immoral. He was stealing people's work, but until the laws, I don't know what laws they had in place then. So obviously
Right. I
now,
mean, I guess he provided a service, so he wasn't putting the stuff up himself, but, I mean, he provided the means for people to do it, you know?
so yeah, you're liable. We can't get those 10 million, but we got you. Mr. Dewey. Uh, there was a free online After Effects. There's a lot of online kind of all After Effects alternatives, you know, that are out there. Some are better, obviously better than others. That's why, you know, you were saying autographed and some of them are really excited because those are really, you know, they're getting better. And
And
those
that's
are
backed
really
by a
much
big
better
company.
qualities was
Like,
I
I know what ones
use
he's
let me throw
talking
this
about.
back over
Those were,
here.
like, by indie developers, but when you have the backing of a big company that you think the staying power is gonna be there a little bit longer, or at least they're gonna
Yeah.
give it more of a chance.
Yeah, you hope so. I don't know. Nowadays, though, even with the big companies, they get it and they
Yeah,
shelve
it's
it
true.
so quick, and it's like, wow. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
what is Adobe had? They've got
They
an
got a lot.
AR
Yeah.
software, uh,
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I've done stuff with it.
Arrow. I think it's
Yeah,
Arrow.
Arrow. Yep,
Arrow.
Arrow.
That's been in beta since it's released, and I was like, they ain't never gonna release that. And I was like, some stuff
Yeah,
you
that
just know they're not putting any development in it, so it's not even worth it to learn the software or even give it any kind of credence because they're not developing it.
right.
Everybody just jumping in. Like I said, this was kind of a fireside kind of chat, and we've been joined by guest, former guest, previous guest, and family member Jonathan Winbush, great motion graphics artist, talking about just this plethora of free soft powerful free because again there's a lot of free software out there and there's a lot of free software that isn't worth the time of learning because the company is a indie company and it's not going to be around. But I'm talking more the softwares that are free or very reasonable that have a good development behind it that are really that indie creators can use almost immediately to generate money and revenue, and start building their brand, and talking about the model. The new model that companies, especially companies that are speaking towards creatives, giving them and giving them the full tool and trusting that they're going to be loyal to the brand and purchase, the full version and be evangelists. That kind of dynamic in this post era of Adobe, where people are kind of tired of paying out subscriptions, kind of tired of companies not really caring about them, and just going for the dollar type of thing. So it's a breath of fresh air when you see these companies that are filling that gap for the indie creator. Again, this doesn't apply to the studios that have a well established pipeline. This doesn't apply to them because they're not gonna change that pipeline. I'm talking about the tools that speak directly to
Actually,
indie creators.
I could say it does affect the bigger studios. I have a buddy that runs a studio. I don't want to call him out 'cause I don't know if he wants it out there, but they used to have like 12 seats for Cinema 4D, but it's subscription based, right? And so they paid their subscription, but it always has to ping the internet to make sure that license is connected with that computer or whatnot. And there was a glitch in the system to where his studio couldn't use Cinema 4D for 24 hours. Like even though they were paid up on everything, everything was, in the clear. For some reason, the studio wouldn't recognize the license, so they couldn't use the software that they purchased on their own machine for 24 hours. Which when you're up against deadlines, that day
Yeah,
of missed
that's
work could be catastrophic. And so, I know that they still use cinema on they lessen their seats, they have a couple seats, but they switched over to Blender because Blender is capable of doing what they needed to do. Plus, they didn't have to worry about the licensing thing because, you don't have to make an account for Blender and you don't have to
yeah,
ping the internet. Like you could use it completely offline and not have
yeah,
to worry about it. So it's almost like that
yeah,
peace of mind at the end of the day that you're not going to be out
yeah.
not having your artist work for 24 hours. Like that was essential for him, being a studio owner, and they made it work in their pipeline. They're like, we can't have it happen again. So we're going to
Mm-hmm.
use this software that we don't have to worry about those type of issues.
The truth, yeah, and that's a real serious thing, especially in a big corporate environment. Because, like I said, we deal with it ourselves, where we have a certain number of licenses of a Creative Cloud, certain number, even Dropbox. You have a certain
Mm.
number of licenses of Dropbox. And, with a big company, some people can't get into it, and this and that, and it's like you have to pay for those licenses, you have to pay for those
Yeah.
seats. So when you have those kind of companies that create something that is bypasses all of that, you don't have to worry about how many machines you have the software on. It's a freeing thing, especially in a big environment.
Yeah. Plus, it makes you feel like you have ownership of what you have purchased because that kind of like mentally that makes you feel like I'm buying this, but I don't completely own it because it was taken away from me. Even if it wasn't on purpose, it's still just that interaction of I have this on my computer, but I can't use it. Like that doesn't sit right with a lot of people.
uh, and see, I'm wondering how liable they were, the company, because didn't it go down on their end, or wasn't the problem on their end? How
Yeah,
liable they
yeah.
were for reimbursing, or what kind of reimbursement that would even cover.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get into the nitty-gritty of that, but yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it
you can
just
only imagine, like I said, with at a deadline like that, with that much money on the line. Yeah, that's a lot. You know?
I mean, it takes me back to the days of when, I used to use, like, 3D Max, way back in the day, and or was it Max that you needed a dongle? Like, you had a
Yeah,
physical dongle that you plugged into your computer, and that was your
yeah.
license, and that was the way that you could prove that you're in the software. It's like, you almost
Soft
I
Mods
know.
was like that too. You had to
Yeah,
put a,
yeah, I
a
remember that.
hard
Yep.
dongle on the back of your computer. Lightwave was like that initially. Like they had a hard key, and I even have a hard key dongle for like the early Lightwaves before they went to like a license code. you had to have a hard key dongle for it.
I mean,
Tell
I
the
like
rules.
physical stuff. It makes you feel like you have ownership. I know a lot of people kinda made fun of the dongles back in the day, but looking back at it, I'm like, it at least you had it. You know, like, "This is my piece of software, and I own it, and I physically always have this piece of software." So,
No, I feel you. Like I said, there's something about holding something tangible and having something tangible in your hands that makes it yours.
I mean, I'm a
You know,
big retro gamer, and that the whole retro game scene's making a comeback. Because I mean, a lot of people, they seen that the video games could be taken away from you for no reason from these companies, so people are like, "If I go buy a Super Nintendo game, that's always mine, like, I could play it anytime I want," and yeah, I
true.
think, just, like, having like you said, having something tangible, I think, like, the mentality of the younger generation that never had that, they're starting to question it, like, "Hey, I'm buying stuff, but I don't own anything." It's
I don't
almost like
know.
I'm renting everything.
Yeah, basically already. And I tell people, even and your book is coming out. I much rather have a hard copy of a book
Yeah,
than
that's
a
why I wanted the
digital.
right one. Yep.
There's something about holding it and reading something tangible than reading a digital copy. And a lot of people like that. They like the physicality of having something. Um,
Yeah, or even if people wanna support you and they like, even if they're not into what you're doing, but they wanna support you, they could buy the book and support like, the whole reason that came about was, I did a talk at the NAACP summit last year, and a lot of people don't really know about our industry there, but they came to the talk to learn about it. And afterwards, I had a lot of people come up to me. It's like, "Hey, can I buy your book? You know, I want to support you, even though I'm not into motion graphics." I'm like, I don't. I have an online course, but I don't have a book. And the one lady pulled me to the side. She's like, "Honey, you need to have something to sell to these people because these people, they're ready to throw money at you, and you sitting up here talking about I
yeah,
don't have nothing to
that
sell you."
that.
You're like, you sat up here and talked to these people for an hour and you inspired them and they willing to give you money and
Oh man.
you can't even
Yeah,
take
you
it
need
from them.
to you need to talk to I think if you talk to speakers and like, those ones that just speaking, they'll tell
Yeah.
you, yeah, they gotta have something in the back for people to buy.
Yeah,
They
yeah, like
gotta
a
have
T-shirt
something
or
for people to
something. It's
buy.
like yep. But,
Oh
I
man.
mean, that's the first time it really hit me because that's people that come up to you, but, like, that's the first time I spoke to people outside of our audience because usually, I speak at, like, NAB, SIGGRAPH,
Yeah.
like, to our peers, so they're not like, "Oh, can I buy your book?" But yeah, the first time like last year, I was trying to really get outside of our industry and reach a wider audience. So I spoke at like fashion shows, the NAACP summit, and like every time people are like, "Can I buy your T-shirt?" or "Can I buy your book?" or "What can you
Yeah.
sell me? I want to support you." And I'm like, "Okay, I gotta fix this wrong because I'm leaving money on the table." Since
I
you're
gotta
leaving
plug
money on
this
the
hole
table,
up.
so yeah. I never had this issue before. People want to give me money and I can't take it.
Yeah, this is a
It's like
whole. I gotta quickly plug it. Did you keep? I mean, when when you wrote the book, did you write it from that perspective, from the people that are in our industry or are know what you're talking about, or the ones that come up to you at these conferences or talks that aren't necessarily in your space but just want to support it? How did you
right.
approach writing it when you wrote the book?
Yeah, so I'm still in the process. I'm still writing it, but the way that I'm approaching it is the same way I approach a course. Like my big thing is I try to, or even when I do a tutorial, I try to approach it as this is the first time someone's, coming in contact with me. They don't know who I am and they don't know these programs at all. So like if I'm completely new and I want to get into the business, how would I be able to explain to them like this is what it is and these are the reasons why this is what it is and like a lot of times I'll even go to the very beginning like you need to go to this URL, you need to download this executable file, you need to install it here. Like people will say like why do you go through all that? And I'm like because you
No,
don't
that
know
helps.
what
No,
people's levels are. So if somebody brand new to the game wants to come in, at least I cover the bases so they don't get lost. I can't just jump into the fire and then they'd be like, all right, I'm out because I can't even install this program. So I try to approach it as they know absolutely nothing about anything that's going on. But by the end of the book, they should be able to at least have something tangible that they could render out and say like, "Hey, look what I made," even though I came into this completely blind.
No, and that's a that's the way to approach it. I think, trust me, I've watched enough videos, even knowing, you know, even being familiar with what they're doing. They don't explain everything, and I'm like, man, I didn't catch that, or they just assume that you know what they're doing or the process of what you're doing. I think it's much better explaining it,
Yeah,
so that somebody can know the steps that you did, and not only the steps. I like those. I like those ones that tell you why or why not. You know, to do something like you would do it in this instance. Why I would do it in this instance. Why I didn't do it in this instance or wouldn't use it in this instance. I mean, explaining that more
yep,
so than you get some people that they show you the tool, but they don't explain the why or the meaning behind the tool. You know.
right. Which I gotta get. It's a tough thing to juggle because I used to do that as well. Like I would like even if it's a quick tip, I say like, hey, here's how to import, like say like an FBX into Unreal. I'm doing it this way because when I do it this way, it comes in jacked up. So like I would show like how I initially did it and it looked jacked up, and it's like, okay, now here's the proper way that I learned how to do it. Then I would go back and show it. But it's it's tough because the comments could be kinda brutal sometimes, so people are like, "Why you just not jumping to the point?" Like, "Why you showing me the jacked up version? I ain't come for that." And
Yeah,
it's like, "Well, I'm
yeah, I
trying to
get
show
it.
you what happens if you do it wrong." So it's like you gotta juggle all these people out
Yeah.
there. Some people are appreciative, they're like, "Oh, thanks for showing me that," and then other people are like, "Why you showing me that?" So it's
Oh man, and I get it, and I guess I get and I guess some preface it or tell people in the video, hey, if you're a seasoned professional, you can skip over this
yeah, yeah,
because
true.
you already know it. But I'm
Right.
telling this to let people who don't know it type of thing. I've seen those kind of videos, but it is, you know, obviously teaching videos and tutorial videos is a very specialized thing, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's something I'm trying to learn to get better at, explaining a task or a function or something, explaining something so that somebody understands it, and somebody that doesn't know what you're talking about can understand it, type of thing. It's not
Yeah.
still not an easy thing to do. And obviously you're not going to please everybody. There are going to be those ones that are like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
can you just get to the point?
But I would say, like if you're looking to do tutorials, the way that I kind of approach it is, I kind of look at what other people are doing, and like I'll bring up Comfy UI because that's a perfect example of something that I've recently been getting into. But it was frustrating to me because I would, search for Comfy UI on YouTube. I watched like a whole lot of different tutorials, and like, I must have went through, like, a week's worth of tutorials and still didn't know what I was doing at the end of the day. I'm just like, "I can't even install this program, let alone figure out why they're connecting all these nodes," and then people are like, "Go to my Patreon and download this and download." I'm like, "I don't wanna go to your Patreon." I like, "Can you just lay it out on, like, how I can even just get started, make a simple
Yeah.
image?" And so that's why once I figured it out, I was like, "You know what? I wanna go and make this as simple as possible because I know the frustrations that I went through." So, like, I took my laptop, I completely erased it from scratch, like, I went and reformatted it, and it's like, I wanna walk you through
I
everything that
watched
you're
it.
gonna
Yeah, I
see when
watched the
you install
video.
it, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I watched
that
it.
was my mentality behind it. I'm like, because there's some stuff that you might download and you might even forget about, like, oh, you gotta download Python or Visual Basic or, just stuff in the background. So I'm like, I want everybody to see exactly the steps that it's gonna take to be able to get this up and running, and then you can see if it's for you or not. But at least you'll be able to install it and get it running. Like that was
Yeah.
my end goal, is just getting people started because from there, then you can take it wherever you want. But yeah, all these tutorials from these people that have been running Comfy for 3 years, and just, like even there was, like, a real popular one, it got, like, hundreds of thousands of views, and it was, like, 5 hours long, and I like, even watching that one, everybody's like, "Oh, this is the best," and I'm just like, "Dude, I, I watched half of it and I'm like, I can't figure this mug out. Like I gotta just sit down and just
Oh
hammer it out
man,
myself and figure it out and
it
yeah,
was
show it to the
good. I
people.
watched it. My only thing, obviously, hence your comment was, I wish you'd have done it. You did it for Windows. So it was like, damn. It was like, I don't know how to do this for
Yeah.
Mac.
I mean, yeah, computers are so expensive. If somebody at Apple wants to send me a Mac, I'd be happy to do because the same thing with Unreal. People are like, "How do you do it in Mac?" I'm like, I don't know.
I know that was
I
another
wish I
thing.
could
I was
tell
like,
you,
dang,
but
I can't even load Unreal.
right, right,
So yeah, but
yeah,
either way, it's a hard thing. Like I said, explaining something simply enough, and one, simply enough. Two, I guess entertaining enough to keep people's attention. You know, and in a way, I mean, there are some that are just. I've listened to some, and the person speaks in a monotone, and it's just, it's like dry bread, and I'm like, oh man,
it's
getting
tough.
through.
I've tried to work on that because I know I have a monotone voice on that. Not like I've tried to improve over the years, but yeah, it's because like once you get into it, then you're into it. But I'm also like, oh yeah, I'm speaking to an audience, so I gotta perk it up a little bit, you know.
Well, I've gotten better at being aware of that, but my thing is obviously being concise, because obviously you can ramble on about things and kind
Right,
of go off the beaten track on things, and just hit the bullet points of what I want to teach or get across. Stay on that point without deviating too much,
right.
and be entertaining and informative while I do it. Is the challenge for me. So
That's the challenge. I've talked to a lot of content creators, and that's across the spectrum. I mean, even you talk to people I work with, Mr. Beast, they're like, he has a whole team behind like trying to figure that stuff out. Still, he's like the biggest content creator in the world, and he even still is like, how do I keep people engaged? And like they're studying it on like a analytical level, and that's something that they're always worried about. So it's a hard task because it's not just one person that you're focusing on. Like you have a whole spectrum of different type of people. So, like you said, it's going to be hard to please everybody, but you want to please at least enough people that they keep coming back and watching your content.
yeah, yeah, and I try to keep that in mind. Like I said, when I do the show, and when I do, like I said, the stuff that I post on my channel is I want it to be informative yet entertaining, yet still true to be who I am personally.
Right.
Type of thing.
Yeah, you can't
Uh
deviate from who you are. You gotta. That's the number one thing. Like, don't try to be somebody else or be something you're not. 'Cause I see a lot of people that try to act online, and it just comes over not genuine at all. You know.
Now, true. I want to ask you, because you were talking about, you're doing some stuff with School of Motion, which is another great resource. And I tell people, I actually just got done watching Joey drop their video, I think last week. Um,
The Motion Monday one.
yeah, the Motion Monday one.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and obviously he's big on Rive, and that's another tool that's out there that is a great tool. I'm not sure of their kind of business structure, as far as they're free. I mean, I got it on my computer. I don't pay for it, but I'm not sure like if it's non-commercially or if it's to a certain level type of thing.
Yeah, I gotta speak with them. I talk with the guys over there every now and then. Like they're real cool guys. I want to say it's free until you get a render. I think you have to pay to render,
To
maybe,
render.
but don't quote me on that. I think that might be it, or
Mm.
deploy, because I know they do a lot of web based stuff too. So I think if like you deploy outside of Rive, then that's when
Rive,
you pay
yeah.
to get your stuff out of Rive. You know,
But it's another one of those tools that is a great tool that spans a lot of just kind of disciplines that can be used in a lot of areas, that allows a creative to, again, expand his tool set. I haven't dove into it deeply yet. I want to, because of
yeah,
the
same here.
interactivity, and what I'm doing with AR, seeing how I can kind of port that over into my AR design type of
Can you
thing.
do AR with Rev?
No, not with Rive.
Oh,
I use
okay.
a different tool I use Mattercraft uh,
Okay.
to create my AR experiences, but I would like to see how I could implement Rive because I've seen the stuff that you can do in Rive, and I hear it's really light as far
Yeah.
as size and weight. That's always the thing I'm thinking about when I'm doing, the AR design. Cause I use video and I use a lot of video and stuff like that. And keeping the file size down is always the challenge for me.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah, I know they have integration with well, I know they have it integrated with Unreal. I'm not sure about Unity, but that could be some like if you reach out to them, I wonder if they would do some type of integration with the platforms that you're using, just like a connector so you could connect Rive to your program.
oh, interested. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Because they, obviously I'm able to with Mattercraft bring in through code base. So I'm pretty sure there probably is a way that they could create some
Or you
kind of
might even be
connector.
able you can ask Claude. I know a lot of people are doing like scripting with Claude, like for their own
Yeah.
plugins and connectors and stuff like that. So I mean, it
Yeah.
might be a type of thing. If you could wait long enough between sessions, you might be able to bang it out. 'Kay, I know
Yeah.
with me with coding, it's like I get into it, then I gotta wait 5 hours. It's like, I ain't paying you, so I'll see you at
trust,
4:30.
trust me, I've had a couple of which, I mean, I get it as far as a business model. I mean, yeah, you every business is there to make money. My thing
Right, right.
is, my thing is, what gets me is you give these features free for a while, and then when you start to see people or are using it or it's intensive, then you want to say, we're changing our terms of agreements, and you now have to upgrade, you know, to the paid version to access this feature. Just you know, either give it free or immediately start charging so you don't do it. I mean, it's like you give stuff free and then you take features away.
Take it away, yeah.
Yeah.
Or don't even take it away, just charge for the new like, bill like, if you have new features, then be like, "Okay, the new features are gonna be on a paid tier." Like, I'm not a fan of taking away. It's like, just build upon it, then charge for from there
Yeah.
on out.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, with Black Magic, and I think they probably will with if and when they ever do go to a subscription thing, a subscription
Ah,
model.
don't put that out there. Don't
Please, Black Magic, don't. This goes into the realm of if. The Marvel movies, if that's what this goes into. uh I think they would only do it for those major upgrades. All the in between dot per dot upgrades they would give free, I think. And they would just do like they would still keep it like of old. We'll charge you. We'll have a nominal charge for major updates. You don't necessarily have to upgrade if you don't want to. You can skip the upgrade and upgrade at the next one, like companies used to do. They gave you the option
Yeah, I mean, I
of
could
doing that.
see it's like you said, a lot of people went over and bought, Resolve. So even if they only did like, "Hey, we're gonna charge you $10 for, the upgrade," I could even see them making a lot of money doing that. 'Cause, I mean, they're giving it away for free now, and they're still making decent money, so just imagine if they just, like, upgrade 5 or $10. I don't think people would balk at that at all, you know?
No, they wouldn't. They'd happily pay for it. They would
Yeah.
happily pay. They could have charged. They could have charged 99 cents for their phone app, their phone camera app, and I love using that phone camera app. Way
I
better
paid
than,
so
and it's free.
I got the app that connects it to my camera for,
Uh
like,
huh.
focusing and stuff like that and, hitting record and stuff, and they didn't have an official app on Android at the time, so I paid, like, 4 or $5 for, like, a third party that made the app for it, so it's like, if they would've made the app, I would've, happily paid for it and supported them over there, especially because I
Yeah.
use the software for free, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, their Black Magic camera app. I love it. I use it. I try to use it more than the regular Apple camera because You can control the ISO, the aperture, and all of that with
Yep.
Black Magic, and it's free. That's what I mean. That's why you love.
Yeah, yeah.
And
You get
they
them in.
even give you five, I think 5 gigabytes of of
Their storage thing, or
storage space in
yeah, yeah,
case you want to remote work remotely and work
yeah,
files remotely. So I mean, you'll burn through that, but still, if it's a small thing, that it's the little things. I tell people it's the little things that make the biggest difference. And
yeah.
those companies
Absolutely.
that focus on the little things move the needle the biggest.
Yeah.
Those little things like giving a camera app, a very well capable camera app free, give it that away. Give it away.
I mean, you're keeping your base happy, and when you keep
Yeah,
your base
give it
happy,
away.
they're the ones that do the groundwork for you. Like you're talking about it now on your podcast. Like they're not paying you to do that. You're
Yeah,
doing
they're
it
not
because
paying
you're
me.
happy to use it.
Yeah, I love that. Now trust me, Black Magic, I would love to have you as a sponsor, you know, for sure. But again, I use the software. So why wouldn't I talk about software that I love and use? Of course, I would love to have you sponsor it, but I'm still going to
Yep.
talk about the software because it's a great piece of software. Just like Blender is a great piece of software, just like Unreal, Affinity, all these are great pieces of software that you as a creative, I wouldn't have thought about 10, 5, 10, 15 years. When I started in graphics and design, man, you just don't know how good you got it.
Yeah,
You
I
guys
tell
just
them
don't
all
know
the
how good
time.
you got
Like I said, we were pirates back in the day. Like you wanted to be in this business, you had to walk that line. It's
it.
like,
Oh man, I'm telling you, man, the stuff was truly manual back then. Truly manual. I tell people,
yeah.
a lot of people, when I talk to some artists, they have no idea what a ruby lith is or exacto knife either. Like,
Yeah, I mean, when I was at university, before I was even allowed to jump on a computer, our professor made us cut tape reel to reel. Like we had to physically like spice
physically
the reels
cut,
together,
splice
and
it. Yeah,
yeah, because he's like, you're not going to know how the NLEs are working if you don't physically get in there and see what exactly is going on. Because like the computers are just replicating the manual work
yeah,
to make it easier. So if you
yeah,
understand it, it's going to be easier to understand once
yeah,
you're doing it digitally.
yeah. And see, uh, people, that's what I was talking about as far as Jonathan dropping nuggets, because he dropped this nugget uh, on his episode. Go check it out. But this was a nugget that he dropped that stuck with me that I keep telling myself when you were talking about figuring it out yourself first, trying to
Yeah,
figure it out first before you went to, ChatGPT or whatever it is, trying to learn it and figure it out. That was something I guess I never really thought, kind of heavily on. Sometimes you skirt through stuff or just let me, jump on ChatGPT and try and, you know, skirt around it. But the thought of you saying, I enjoy trying to figure it out, you know,
it sticks with me when I
you
do
know,
it that way because I think it's almost like the adrenaline rush. Once you figure it out, I forget, like you had this problem and you might have been banging your head against the wall trying to figure it out, but once you accomplish it, it's like I'm never going to forget that because it gave me that feeling of accomplishment at the end of the day. And yeah, that's for me, that's the biggest way I learn. Like I could
yeah.
read books or watch tutorials all day and come away with absolutely nothing, but all the knowledge that I've accumulated over these years, a lot of it comes from just firsthand experience of just jumping directly in the fire and putting it out.
And again, that plays into even these free softwares. I keep that in mind because you got a lot of developers that are developing great plugins. Blender, DaVinci. There's a lot of great creators that I follow that have great plugins that speed the process. But I try and keep that in mind when I'm trying to think about an effect that a
Yeah.
plugin that I can throw a plugin on and it'll create it. But trying to sit and kind of decode it. I don't like. I I really don't like opening up a node. You know how you can collapse
Yeah,
and
yeah,
open up some nodes.
absolutely.
Oh man, I don't really like doing that, but sometimes it's good to be able to, deconstruct. and see how
Yeah.
something is actually made, you know, type of thing. So
And somebody, not the steamroller, somebody had a question, I think, on the side. I'm not sure if they're still here. They were saying,
let's see. Uh
Mr. Akko, how do
hey
you say it? Alkabola?
guys. I have I have questions. What questions do you have? Throw them in there. Mr. Alki Bulan. We are talking about free software, this model of giving creatives full control of these high quality, high professional tools now. And companies openly, openly confronting or openly challenging the big dogs, Adobe, and some of these other companies that are going the route of subscription. Um, like I said, you have software like DaVinci, you have software like GIMP, Affinity, Blender, Unreal, Krita, Modo, Calvary, Audacity. You have all these great softwares out there that will allow the creative to immediately get a hold of, get their idea out there, and make money, make
Yeah.
make make a revenue for themselves, and not feel like they have to be tied in a community or in an ecosystem that is just not sustainable for them at the moment. You know.
How do you feel about, because I know you had brought up Blender and taking the money from Claude earlier this week. And, they came out with the plugin where you can connect Claude with Blender. I've been messing around with it. Like,
I
me
played around
personally,
with
I'm
it.
not,
Yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say I'm not too impressed with it yet, but I can see the potential there. But once it does get to that point to where you could, like, throw up an image and say like, "Hey, Claude, model this for me inside of Blender." Like, what do you think that does for the next generation of artists that are coming up that might be just getting started, and it's like they're skipping that process of modeling and understanding a lot of the basics of what it takes to even get that because they're instantly getting that instant gratification, right? So
Yeah,
does that
yeah.
mean that those there's gonna be, like, a deficit of people that actually know how to use the software at the end of the day? And, like, once those artists become, like, our age, then, they're gonna be up there, and they're like, "We don't even know how to do the basics because we always just relied on AI to
Yeah.
figure it out for us."
And I think that's always been kind of my stance now. That the thing with AI is it kind of gives those creative it trumps those creatives the basic principles of whatever it is that they're doing within AI, whether it's writing a script, doing 3D, whatever it is, you still have to understand the basics of what you're doing.
Right,
What's the structure of a good, you need to be able to recognize the structure of a good story. You need to be able to recognize the composition of a good image type of thing. I don't think AI can teach the basics of that to anybody. And I think I got that from Ryu because he, like I said, his video was showing the chat, open chat GPT or the Claude within Blender. And even he was saying that it's Claude's not going to teach you the principles of 3D and modeling. You need to know that when you're putting in whatever it is you're asking of Claude to create
right.
in in Blender. So you need to know where this position, what spotlight you want, and why you want it, and where you want it, and all that kind of stuff. You need to know how much bevel you want on this and that, and how to correct it if it doesn't, show up right. You need to be able to understand why it's showing up wrong and that type of thing, and tell Claude that type of stuff. So I think the basic principles of whatever skills, I don't think AI can teach that. And I think anybody that's, using AI needs to know those things and it can expect anything good out on the other side, you know?
I mean, that's my worry though, because it's not AI's intention to teach. It's just
No.
AI's intention to give you the result that you asked for. So it's almost like, is there going to be any more students? Because they're not even going to AI like, hey, can you explain how to do this? They're just going to be like, hey, can you do this? So that's where I'm seeing like there's going to be like a huge disconnect. Because like we were just saying, like when I was in school, my teacher wouldn't let us touch a computer until we knew manually how the cameras worked, or
Yeah.
how editing worked physically, or this, that, and the third, or how they do practical effects and all that stuff. But it's like a lot of kids are probably skipping university, to be honest, at this point for this type of stuff because there's a lot of online resources. But now, even are they going to even go to those online resources to kind of learn? They're just going to jump right into the AI and just get
Yeah.
the instant gratification of, I had this idea, put it on wax, and there we go. But they have no
Well,
idea of like how it works.
I think I honestly, I think that's just the danger of, or the kind of the danger and the downside of the internet. It kind of shortcuts people's things, it kind of
Yeah, that's a
shortcut
good way to put
people
it.
route. It shortcuts this thing of us building a relationship and having a conversation in person. It shortcuts that.
Right.
It shortcuts learning something, because I can go on YouTube and learn and just watch it, as opposed to me, doing it, type of thing. So that's always the danger. I mean, yeah, we love the knowledge and we love the access to the knowledge, but like I always say, it's a tool, and like any tool, there are going to be people that use it the wrong way and want to take a shortcut to do something, whereas it's better to learn the whole process. Now, I think in the end, it'll all come out. They'll, be, it's like what somebody said. I think it was one of my guests. Uh, he was saying he was reviewing somebody's portfolio and it was all AI generated. And I was
Mhm.
like, at some point, it's going to come out that you're not an artist, and that
Yeah,
you can't do something by hand, that you
that you're
need
being
to
asked.
prompt something. At some point, it's going to come out, type of thing. So I think the truth, there are going to be people that want to shortcut that, obviously. But I also believe there are people out there like you, me, that enjoy the process of learning and understand the skill and appreciate the artisanship of learning a craft and being able to do a craft, you know?
I think that's what's gonna separate the men from the boys, right?
Yeah.
That's like if you, because like even when I said, I'm working on my light gun game, right? That I wanted to put together, and like I
Yeah,
don't
there's
know a
some
whole
cool
lot of
videos. We're
coding.
going to have to bring you on. Man, we got to bring Jonathan's working on so much stuff, I tell you. And all his, trust me, because this show wasn't scheduled. Obviously, I don't have his information, but they will be in the show notes for sure, his channels and stuff, because you got to check out, the content that Jonathan puts out. It's great content. And
Oh,
he's
thank you, man.
currently working on that shooter game, which is really cool.
Yeah, but like I went into it because like I know art, but I don't know coding. Like I know Unreal Engine, but not enough to make like a video game. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm in there, like you said, at first, I was just going for instant gratification. I'm like, "Hey, Claude, like, I wanna make this shooter, make it for me," and it did, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be. But then I was thinking, I was like, "I don't even understand, like, what it did and why it's doing it, and when I'm trying to get it to fix it, I'm not telling it the right thing to fix because I don't understand the process that
Yeah.
it took to get there." So I started completely from scratch, and the first thing that I put in the Claude was like, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing in these aspects of this project, but this is the knowledge that I have. Can you outline out for me the proper ways that a game developer would actually go through and set this up?" And it gave me, like an outline. It was like, you know what, let's just start A, B, and C and figure out like what we need to do. And like if you go to Claude as, somebody that you want to learn, it will actually tell you the steps that you need to take and what you need to do to understand it. But
Yeah.
that was just my knowledge of wanting to know how stuff works. I don't
Yeah.
know if a lot of people would do that, but
No, like you
it's
said,
the way
most
that you're
people.
using the tool.
Yeah, like you said, most people are just going to want to bypass it. Claude, give me the answer. This is what I want. Give me the
But
answer.
I would say in the end though, it's given me a better product because I did want to understand it, and then it helped me set it up in a logical way that I'm not burning through my credits. I'm not getting a lot of junk code. Like everything is modular, and we set it up on my computer, and like I understand all aspects of what exactly is going on. So I'm just like, hey, I don't like the way that this is working. Can we go into this JSON file and fix this right here to make this work? And
Yeah.
it's actually been like a pretty enlightened process, like I'm learning a lot as I'm going along, but I just I don't
No,
know if we're like old school like that. Like if we like to learn and if that's like even a skill set that's going away. Like I don't
it is. It's going.
I don't know.
Obviously, it's going away because just technology is just pushing it towards this instant gratification. I mean, we're
Right.
like that anyway, but couple that as a character trait with the technology that just supports it. It's instant gratification. Then that's where why things are moving at lightning speed because everybody wants everything right now, type of thing, and it's hard for those ones that are used to kind of that slower pace of learning and kind of working through things because now things are moving even faster that you know some people are having a hard time obviously keeping up you know
Right.
with the thing. It's hard to keep up. Like I said, this is just a drop in the hat of software that comes out, and you got software that's coming out and software that's coming out, and you're trying to figure out, well, mom, what's do I learn this software? Do I learn this software? I have to get in and learn this and learn this and learn that. So it's a
You kind of
lot,
got to
and it
pick and just lock in. You can't, yeah, you got to put the blinders on, like I always say, kind of lock in and get in with the right one. Cause like even I started with Claude maybe a couple weeks ago and people are already saying like, "Oh, that's old. Like you gotta use ChatGPT 5.5." That's I'm like, no, just I don't gotta use nothing. I'm in my lane. I'm doing good over here. I'm gonna just
and
stick with this. Like I'm
everything.
not
As
trying to
soon as you
jump to
open
everything
something
new.
up, it's old.
Right. It's like right. You just gotta lock in and ignore the noise because there's always gonna be something, especially in this day and age. It's just yeah, it's nuts. It's what made me not even jump into AI right away, just because every time I got interested in something, it seemed like everybody's like, "Oh, that's last week. Now we're on to this over here," and
I
it's just
mean,
like,
I got like I said, trust me, I have enough friends that are just they're on the AI train, and well, like I said, while I'm not an AI hater, I'm not an AI lover. It's a tool, but I feel like it's
yeah,
a bubble that's gonna burst. Everybody, like I said, is on this like AI
it gotta
high.
burst. Yeah,
It's gonna burst, and it's gonna level out. But again, right now, every company, every software, every person is trying to figure out AI, and how that's gonna just be the next thing until the next thing comes, which I don't know what's after AI, but there'll be something after AI.
yeah. There's always something around the
There's always
corner
something
that they
around the
gotta hype.
corner
Yeah,
type of thing.
it's like you gotta have something to hype up. So
Oh my goodness. But again, this time I love because of software and companies like this, and I'm a optimist, and I'm a half full type of person. I believe there's a lot of great companies out there, and I believe there's companies out there like this that are really really have their end users at heart. You know,
yeah,
really, I think so. And those are the ones, like I said, that think about the small things. And again, I'll tell this to people when I talk about branding and talk about businesses. It's those companies that think about the small, little, insignificant things that you wouldn't think about or pay too much attention to or really care about. You might care about it or not, but it's those ones that think about that and make the shift towards it that make the biggest moves. Those little small changes and those little small things move the biggest needles. And that's why
right.
I like companies that think on those little small kind of micro kind of things.
Yeah, all the small wins lead up to big wins at the end of the day.
End of the day, baby. End of the day. Mr. A, you had a question in there. You hadn't thrown it in, so
Yeah, he
get
said
it
he
in
was
there
studying.
while
I
we
don't know if he
can.
went back to studying maybe.
Uh,
There we go.
okay, there we go. Is there any software companies based in Africa you guys are working with? I'm trying to think. Have I interviewed in none that I'm working with, but I'm trying to think of have I interviewed any African-based software companies. I don't
I'm
think
not really
specifically
familiar with.
African-based
Yeah.
software companies. I mean, I've obviously a lot of the companies and people that I've talked to and creators that I've talked to over there, they're using software, industry standard software over here, Blender, Clip Studio. They're using the software that we use over here. I don't think, and that I'm pretty sure is something that somebody over there is probably working on. I'm sure trying to build that, but that's going to be part of the infrastructure problem or situation that they got to work on having a company over there that software company you know like that. I'm sure they do. I haven't come across any myself.
Yeah, he
Uh,
says we need to make that change here to help with that. No, I agree. I feel like there's a lot of talent in Africa. Like I used to vote for the Promax Awards and I used to see like the Promax, they would have regionals
mhm.
in South Africa, I think was one of the regions. And I saw a lot of really talented motion graphic studios in Africa that no one really talks about, but there's a lot of good work there. So they definitely I don't know who does PR for countries, but they need
Well,
like you look at Japan, it's like everybody knows everything about Japan. I'm always like, who's the PR agency behind Japan? 'Cause it's like it's like people are like obsessed with Japan. And I'm like, I mean,
uh,
I've been to Japan. I think it's cool, but I'm like, these other countries need to pick it up and kind of
yeah, well,
expose like what their highlights are because there's a lot out there in the world that people don't know about.
yeah, which is part of the reason I have a lot of African guests, I have a lot of my African brothers and sisters on, because there is this untapped, unseen talent. Now it's kind of starting to be seen with Disney and Kazajimoto is
Yeah, yeah,
starting to
so
really
yeah.
it's starting to bring it up a little. But I have this conversation and with all my African guests, brothers and sisters that come on. Do you feel like it's, and you can answer this as well, do you feel like this it's a I feel like a big thing of it is a political thing because Africa is so politically fragmented. I feel like that's what's holding them back as far as as a global as a continent industry. Not like the United States where we're all you got different states, but you got this one governmental industry that's kind of over it. Is that's what's holding because you got separate rulers over separate countries in Africa doing their own kind of separate thing, supporting it, not supporting the industry, supporting this, not doing this, being corrupt here, not being corrupt there, type of thing. Is it going to take a collective kind of political umbrella to kind of get the industry to where it can be a global? Africa should be way bigger than what it should be in so many respects.
Yeah,
Not
this
even just in that, not even just in that industry. I'm talking about just as a global empire. Africa should be at the top, but because they're so
uh,
fragmented, they're not. And is that something that's going to need to be addressed in order for the industry to really take hold?
yeah, I will just I'll say that I wouldn't say Africa is fragmented, but there is a history of and this is like a whole conversation in itself, but
Yeah,
colonialism kind of really went through and tore that whole it's not even a country, it's a continent, right? So when
it's
you're
a
saying like there's
continent.
different rulers and stuff like that, and that's because it's you have to look at it as a continent, like how we have North America has Canada, United States, and Mexico. Like it's not all one entity. Like they're still, have their separate governments. That's the way that Africa is split up. But the I just say listen to Trevor Noah's podcast, the last episode with Vic Mensa. They go into this and just the history of Africa and how colonialism went in. And it's not actually a lot of corrupt governments in Africa, but the world, the way that they control the narrative, it makes Africa look corrupt. And, when you're told something a certain amount of times, you start to believe it yourself and you
Yeah,
start, yeah, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but I'll say that I've been actively trying to go to Africa. Like I've been looking for conferences that are in that region that I could go speak to and kind of highlight the area. So if Mr. A, even if you know of any conferences down there, like I would love to come down there as a guest speaker and try to give more just more visibility to what's
yeah,
going on there. I know my
yeah.
buddy EJ went to parts of Africa last year and he absolutely loved it. And yeah, there's a lot of great people down there. I just think they need that visibility to really be able to shine on a global scale.
And I tell them I try to do my little part because I have met some amazing, talented brothers and sisters there. That hey, I just love having them come on, and they're working on some amazing stuff. I'm trying to find more stop motion artists there. I've had Esther on Badabosi. She's pushing the stop motion industry there and really trying to promote it. So yeah, you're right. You have a lot of creatives there, and again, I'm kind of glad. I mean, yeah, it's starting to come up a little because of Disney and other studios are starting to partner with and go over there and seek to work with studios over there, but I think I think that and resources. That's another thing I talk to when I do have my guests on that are from there. It's just the resources that we take for granted here that
Yeah,
they have to go above and beyond. Just I've had some guests that they got a power generator going, while I'm doing the interview type of thing, and they have to worry about and the power's gone out during the interview type of thing. Those kind of things are the things that I'm thinking about are kind of the challenges are what I would see are the challenges that some areas obviously some areas are better than others, but again, if you want to get it on a global or continental, yeah, continent of Africa, continental
yeah.
scale, that along with educational institutions. Obviously, there's a plethora of online. People can go online, but I
But they
noticed
need
a lot
access to
of
online though. That's the
yeah. But
thing.
I know this. A lot of them they don't have access to online, and a lot of them end up going out of country for more advanced education, whether it's France or England or whatnot, to get more
Right.
advanced education. So that's another thing. Just another element that's going to need to be worked on. I feel like just having more readily available institutions there that you know kids and people can get a hold of.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it will get there as well. It's gonna take just a mentality shift to get them to where they need to be at because I agree. Like all the world's natural resources do come from there. So there's no reason why they shouldn't be a global
Oh yeah,
powerhouse.
whoa, oh
Everybody else is benefiting off of
yeah,
what they provide and they're not. So
yeah, everything. Uh, Game. Also, I'm going to throw this in here.
I
Also,
think
the
it
gaming
got
software
frozen.
developers. I have talked to a few that they're not like full blown, but they're working in the gaming space over there. So the gaming industry is also growing over there. That whole industry, um, animation, motion graphics, gaming is big over there. I wasn't aware that film, the film industry is as bigger over there than it is animation. But again, I think the exposure, I think also it's going to take those creatives that do get that opportunity to work at companies and go to companies like Disney and Sony, giving back and going back and teaching and giving back to the students and you know, other kids that are from their area. So I think it's going to take that as well too, which I've seen. You know, people like Wayne Carnegie, really giving back to Jamaica, his native land of
Right.
Jamaica, really giving back. And even though they're not living there anymore, they're at these studios and they're learning all these skills and knowledge that they can now take back to their country and pass on and give on to others to create and grow that industry. So it's going to be this spider web of things and people doing to really make the industry grow. And that's what I'm excited about moving forward. We're starting to see a lot of different things come into play now, and that's why I say it's a really interesting time that we're in. My question was, did you guys catch they're already working on spatial computing? I'm referring to the African Development Bank. This was last year, a whole presentation. No, African
Yeah, I'm
Development
not
Bank.
not familiar with the development bank at all, so I didn't catch that one.
African Development Bank, spatial AR. Okay. Hmm. That'd be
I'm not
interesting.
sure if you could
Look
drop
at
links.
I will say, uh let me throw this. This is gonna get hidden. Any information or anything like that, I want to hear about. So any type of information, I want to I want to throw over here. I'm gonna put this right here. No parking. No. Where's my text at? Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, if you know there's any conferences down there, definitely drop them in the chat because I need to look up and see what's popping over there so I can
There's
see if I
starting to
can get
be a
over there.
lot more. I think again, the industry there is starting to grow. So you are starting to see, because I'm starting to get a lot of posts from some of the past guests that have been on from there. There's starting to be a lot of conferences, and there's starting to be a lot of people organizing events there. Again, I'm excited that the industry is growing. Hold on. I'm going to jump over here. Uh, send it to info at thecolorofmotion.net. Send that information there so that I can make sure that it's in the chat and then get it over to Jonathan. But I always want any type of feedback, any type of comments, who you might want to guess, any topics or anything like that, always you can connect with me at info at thecolorofmotion.net. Anything related to African development. But again, I think they're starting to develop a lot of different organizations and a lot of different, they are starting to work with a lot more in their respective governments, I think, with the industry, because you got a lot of creatives now that are starting to push that narrative, you know. Um, and I guess, the partnerships with companies like Disney does nothing but help push it. They come in and show the viability of the medium, and that
I
people
wish they would have
really.
jumped in sooner because they had a lot of momentum with the Black Panther movie, and I felt like there was a lot of eyes on African culture at that point, but they kind of let that slip. Like there was a big movement there where they could have really capitalized and pushed that narrative forward.
Yeah, yeah, no. But I've always felt like, the narrative was going to be pushed more from the independent creators than it was from the big studios.
Right.
That was my feeling. But because like I said, there was a big thing when Kazazi Moto and some of them one came out. Now not quite. Like you said, almost like they dropped the ball a little. Now it's kind of come back, but I always felt like you know that big shift was going to come from those independent creators that were doing their own thing, you know, and putting it out there. And that's why I feel like these softwares allow those, you know, creators. You know, the thing again now is financing on a certain scale. I mean, you have the distribution with, you know, YouTube and, you know, social to get your thing out there now. And even if you want to finance, you know, you can go the Kickstarter route and try and self finance it now. But do you feel like everybody is trying to, like you said, go that route of this that quick gratification of getting in the studio, or kind of the thing of rather than build it or figure it out?
Um, yeah, it's hard to tell. I know. I wish I would have saved this post I saw the other day. There was I can't remember what part of Africa he was from, but he was like he was working on his own cartoon for the past 5 years, and he put a couple episodes out on YouTube, and he built up enough of an audience to where he actually got distribution, and now he has finance to actually get it. I forget who was backing it. I don't want to say Netflix, but it was somebody of like that stature. But he spent 5 years just putting out his vlogs, saying this is what I'm working on. He built up an audience. He put a couple episodes out, and yeah, he organically grew it into becoming like his own production powerhouse. And I feel like you're saying, this is all going to come from the independent creators. That's how you're going to at least ignite that fire. And then more people are going to say, like, hey, there's money, because money talks, right? So once they see that there's actually money that could be made in this arena, then you're going to see a lot more investments going to that region over there. Cause that's the same thing that happened with like Korea, like K-pop and stuff like that. Like
Mm.
there was a time where people weren't investing in, Korean films and TV and music. And then it just took that one act and then that second act. And once people saw that there's actually money that could be made there, now you're seeing Netflix flooded with Korean films, Korean
Yeah.
TV shows, Korean music is big, and that's how you get like K-pop Demon Hunters. So same thing can happen for Africa. It's just going to take a couple of those independent creators making those small hits, and then once they see that they can make movie there or money there, then they're going to start investing in those areas.
Well, I want to ask you. You know, you're using Comfrey. What do you see? Because there's always seems to be the next thing, or the kind of the next something, next shiny thing, next shiny object, next software. What do you see past Comfy UI? I mean, in AI, what AI and generative AI is doing in that realm, you know, moving past that, you, how do you imagine it, or how do you see it even progressing to, like, how can they, when you're working company, like, how can they push this even further? How can you push this technology even further?
Yeah, like I was saying towards the beginning of the show, I think being able to work offline for any type of AI application is going to be monumental, because even Claude had like a data breach at one point, right? So as long as there's the fear of whatever you're working on has that impact of being able to be breached, I think a lot of companies are still going to be kind of like, at least big companies, they're going to be a little bit more less likely to adopt those. But once we fully get automated offline, I feel like that's going to be the next step of where all this could go. Now, with that being said, it's the hardware you need to be able to run offline efficiently, like offline, that's going to be a little bit pricey. Like I'm fortunate enough to where, like I'm a Dell ambassador. So they sent me a pretty beefy computer with the Blackwell 6000 RTX graphics card. So like I could run Comfy and other stuff pretty efficiently locally.
Yeah.
But a lot of the comments that I got when I did like the Comfy tutorial is like, hey, I got like a 2070 GPU and I could barely, get this to run on my computer. Like it's chugging, and it's like
Well, so
I
obviously
get that.
that's
So
not
it's like,
something that creators keep or even think about, that it's going to take resources to even run offline.
right. So that's why I think the online stuff is popular, but at the same time, the online stuff, they burn credits is going to be expensive, and you're exposing your whatever you're working on to the world because you never know if that that resource is going to get breached or not, or even taken offline completely like Sora. So yeah,
So,
it's going to be interesting.
well, so do you feel like people are going to opt to just, I'll deal with the credits, or do you feel like people will burn the money to spend on a system that can handle, uh, uh, a closed network?
So it's funny because I was speaking with my buddy Logan about this yesterday and this morning because I was asking him about this because he does stuff for a game company and they're heavy in using AI for coding. And I was like, "Did you see this box?" Because I keep getting like Instagram ads on it. I think it's by it might be by Corsair, and
Mm,
it's this companion box. It's a computer, but it's built specifically for being able to run AI offline. So, like, you hook it up to your main computer, and you could put well, they're saying like Claude and stuff on there. I don't know if
yeah,
Claude will 100% work offline, but they're saying like, hey, you have this little box that's only built for computing AI that hooks up to your main computer, and then that way you can offload everything onto this companion box and it's gonna be I think it was still around like three to $4,000, which is way cheaper than trying to buy like a brand new high-end computer these days, but I could see maybe that being an alternative, like these computer companies building AI specific boxes that you could run alongside your main computer.
yeah. Hmm. But then again, would that run into the same issue that you have with computers now, getting enough space, getting enough RAM, having
Yeah, it depends on
the
how they build
card,
it.
type of thing, and having to
It
update that all the time, or invest in, obviously, in a computer that can give you a few years.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, this is all brand new, right? So we don't really know where it's gonna go. I mean, I could say that it's easier to build hardware around a specific task than it is for a piece of hardware that's just supposed to be doing everything. So, like our desktop, the end of the day, these computer manufacturers don't know if you're going to be a video editor, if you're playing video games, if you're doing audio, if you're creating
Yeah,
music. Like it's built to be able to do everything that you throw at it. But if you have a piece of hardware that's specific for, okay, this is only going to be running AI specific programs, so they could build the specs around that. And I would think that would be a little bit more cheaper because you're more streamlined into the different specs that you need to hit rather than something that's just gonna be, like, random and all over the place, you know?
yeah, I get you, Mister A. If you have a connection with the Black Data Processing Associates, I would love to be connected. And definitely, like Jonathan said, if you know of any organizations that he could get connected with, please pass them on. Another question, yeah, yeah, definitely. If you have a connection, this is adjacent to you guys. I want their newsletter. Definitely, again, if you have a connection, send me the information at info at the color of motion .net, and we look into it. Oh, mama, man, this has been a man. We're going to 2.5 hours here,
Yeah.
and this wasn't even scheduled. But it's been a great conversation. And like I said, I want to do more of these fireside chat kind of conversations on different topics. And Jonathan, I appreciate you. Just popping in and hanging out for sure. We definitely have to have you back when you're on your book tour. I know you're not
Yeah,
planning on
that's a
doing a
must,
book
I'll
tour,
pencil it in. Yeah, I'll let
but
the publisher know. I don't know if they could help you in any regards, but once we get that together I know they asked me for a list of, places that do, like, promotions and stuff like that, so I'll be
hey,
sure to give them your
yeah,
contact
you're
information,
always
man.
welcome to come on here and promote the book, for sure, definitely, and definitely to come on and talk about any other motion graphics, good motion graphics, goodies stuff. Uh, but like I told everybody, I don't have the information, Jonathan's information, because it wasn't scheduled uh, in the show, but it will be, his contact information will be in the show notes for sure. So definitely make sure you check out the show notes and connect with Jonathan because he's a great guy and super talented and does some
Oh, thank you.
amazing tutorials. So if you're wanting to learn Unreal, Comfy, UI, so many other stuff right now, how to put a first-person shooter game together, you check out some.
Yeah, I'm gonna put
Check
a
out,
tutorial together once I get it finished.
yeah,
Just
check out,
at
yeah,
some
just
point.
watch it. I tell people though, what's really good is the process. People
Yeah,
enjoy watching the process of you doing it, you know. And I think that's the thing that creators are gonna. I'm seeing more creators do now, especially with AI. They're posting
yeah,
these behind the scenes of them actually doing the stuff now because people can't trust that AI generated it. So
yeah.
I think
I
that's
gotta
something.
I gotta put you in contact with this guy I met in when I was at NAB. His name is Dante, but he goes by Tugboat on Instagram. But he um he had this video go viral because he was in Burbank, and this was a time when Netflix was talking about buying Warner Brothers. So he took a video of the water tower at Warner Brothers, and then he imposed the Netflix logo over it. And he's like, "Oh, I can't believe they already, like put the Netflix logo up there." And he did it all in After Effects, but it
Yeah,
looked so good that people thought it was either
real.
real or it was AI. And so in the comments, everybody's like, "Oh, that's AI, that's AI." Or yeah, a couple of big influencers actually drove down there to see if it was for real or not. Like it took off in that retrospect. But then he did a behind the scenes video of how he did it because he had so many comments of people saying he did it with AI, and he's like, "No, I did it with After Effects." And he ran through the complete gist of it, and he's just like, "Yeah, everybody in the comments that said it was AI, you owe me $3 because I just proved you wrong." And he had like this back and forth going with the community, but like he's a character. It's fun, but it was just I think a lot of people appreciated seeing how he actually did it because it's hard to tell if stuff is AI these days.
Yeah,
So if you can prove that you're working on stuff, I mean, that type of stuff is actually getting more views than original posts because people are like,
yeah.
"Oh, that's not AI. How did you do that?"
That's what I said. You got people that's the way creatives are kind of doing it now, showing that what they're working on in the process. I know another stop motion artist I follow, Kevin Perry. He's been doing that a lot lately. And he's been seeing obviously growth in people watching his video because he's showing how he does the effects and how he edits the effects. So that
Yep.
type of stuff, uh, I say, is the key moving forward because everybody's so caught up in AI generation, what's real, what's not real. You know, I say people want to see reality. So if you can show the behind the process of how you're creating stuff, you know, people appreciate it more and know that you know what you're talking about.
I
I
would
tell
say even if you're doing AI, show the behind the scenes of how you're doing it
how
because,
you're
like I said,
using the tool, how you're
everybody's
using
not
it.
truthful at the end of the day. Like no one knows that you're spending $400 to make like you're making it seem like you did this, made Lord of the Rings for $12, and it's like
And
you
writing
that's not
pages and
what you
pages of prompts.
right, right. So it's like at least if you show the process, I think people even appreciate that because then it's like, okay, that this is what it is. And it shows it more of as a tool.
Yeah,
Like a lot of people are trying to show it as like this magic pill that just
yeah,
magically does stuff. And it's like, no, at the end of the day, it's another tool that you have to learn how to use properly or else you're not going to be able to use it. So
yeah. And that was kind of what I pulled away from reuse video with Blender and Claude. I mean, it's early on, but he just shows you, and he tells you the failings of it. And he tells you, hey, it's gonna when as it gets better, it's gonna help your process, but you still need to know 3D. You just still
yeah,
need
I
to
mean,
know
I literally
lighting.
threw a picture and I was like, "Can you remodel this?" And they gave me like I posted it. I was trying to make like a Nerf gun from a
Mhm.
shooter game, and I was like, "Here's the image. Can you make this in Blender?" And they gave me like this box looking thing that looked like graphics from like '86. And I'm just like, yeah, it
Now
just
you're gonna have to be a little more specific
yeah,
with the
yeah. So it's
bevels
like
and how far you want the belt. Yeah, because he was saying, I want, the cube, because you got to give obviously dimensions.
Yeah.
and where you want it Y, where you want it X, and all of that. So that's what I
But that's
mean.
what people need to see, because when they announced that Claude worked with Blender, I thought, I'm like, "Oh, snap, I could just throw pictures at it and it's gonna model it," and it's like that's the way they made it look in the short demo that they did. They showed, like, a whole scene being made. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be
Oh man,
crazy." Like, yeah, it
oh
did not
man.
work the way that they showed it at all.
And see, and that's what I said. I feel like is kind of the trapping of AI in companies that are putting AI out there. They're making it look like it's easy. I don't know if you ever seen those Copilot commercials.
Mhm.
Uh, I, guys rushing to a meeting. Copilot, I need this, and puts it all together and gives them a good big presentation. It gives people the impression that they skip all of that stuff, that the necessary steps in order to make it something good. And that's why I think they're hammering home this instant gratification thing, that what it spits out what you need, and
And
it's
it's not
right,
the
and
reality at
you
all.
can run it. And that's, like you said, not the reality of it. But most people, they're thinking it is, because that's kind of the way the marketing and the talk is going. You know.
Yeah. No, I used Copilot to try to, because when I drive, I had it hooked up through my cell phone through my car, and like it could read the text message to you, but then it's like, do you want to reply? So you're talking to it, and yeah, it messes up my replies all the time. I'm just like, yeah, Copilot's not the way that it runs in the commercial, because people will text me back like,
What
what
you
did
say?
you
Not
mean?
like the commercial.
And I'm like, I'll go back and look at it, and I'm like, "Dag, that's not even what I said." Like, it says something complete, like, it was sending a text completely different of what I said. So I'm just like,
Oh
"Yeah, it's
man,
not
but but I
on
think
the commercial, that's not the way it was."
but I think all software is like that, because I'll watch like Adobe Max, and they'll highlight a feature or something like that, or they'll show you a feature. I'm like, man, it doesn't work like that for me, or I don't, I can't get it to work like that, or the image doesn't work. They'll pick the perfect image to do the demonstration
Yeah, every
and pull
time.
off the feature. But then when you get a real image that you're working with, it gives you something totally different. So,
Did you see that, because they did that with Photoshop recently, how you could put an image in there, and it's supposed to be able to spin it in
yeah,
3D inside of
yeah,
Photoshop? Yeah, so
yeah.
somebody on Twitter, they were like, "Yeah, it don't work like that," because they showed their image and they showed the screen, they tried to turn it to the side, and it changed it completely. He's like, "I don't know what this is," but he's like, "That's definitely not the way Adobe showed it working."
It never is. Like I said,
Yeah.
they curate their images, when they do these presentations. So that's why when I watch these features, I take it with a grain of salt, because I'm like, okay, what's the practical application when you actually get it in, a working environment, how that's gonna work and how the effect is. So I don't know.
But but the jacked up thing is they charge you for that messed up generation, because that's considered AI, right? When you turn
Yeah,
it
it's
to the side,
considered
'cause it's
generated.
generating it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it tells you, like, when you hit this button, you're gonna be charged a credit or whatever for this, and then you hit that button like, "Okay, let's do it," and then it turns and it's like, "That's not what I wanted," and it's like, "Well, you had to pay for it anyway. We gave you what you didn't want, you still paid for it."
Sorry, all you asked was for 3 iterations, and this is what we gave you.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. You should be able to be like, "No, I want a refund because this ain't even work right."
Yeah, that's true. And I thought I don't know, somebody might have asked them that one time. Do we get credit for the iterations that we don't use or don't want? Or do we just
Yeah.
pay for the ones that we use? Type of thing. I was like, I don't know. Let's see. One more question before we close this out, because I do want to be respectful, even though he wasn't scheduled for today. I do want to be respectful to my
Nah, I
guest.
asked to come on, so it's all good.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Has to come on. And I always love, like I said, I tell all my guests, I welcome everybody back. I always love when guests come back on to just chat and hang out, conversate. Uh, these Black cinema distribution needs animations. I just listened to one of the presidents talk about Mr. Cherry, the Oscar winner for a short film. I think again, there's a lot of things, Black distribution, Black production, that needs to be in place. And I think as these creators, these indie creators, these new creators start coming up, start creating these things, I think you're going to start to see a lot more of these studios, a lot more of these distribution companies investing in our own stories, whatever those stories may be. So that's why
I
I
mean, you're
say I'm
starting to see
excited.
it now. Like
Yeah,
you have, I think Ti, the rapper, just
yeah,
created a distribution company. Then 50 Cent just built like a studio in New Orleans. I want to say,
yeah,
like a Warner Brothers type studio down there. I think people are being inspired by like Tyler Perry and what he built. So we're starting to see that investment back from people that actually made it, and they're just like, okay, now let us put out our own production companies because that's the best way to get your stuff out there. You just got to
yeah.
build it yourself.
And invest back in the people, that were there. So, again, I'm always a half full type of person and a positive person. So I'm optimistic and excited about the future. Mainly because, like again, at my heart, I'm an indie creator, and I feel like I said, it's gonna come from indie creators in this big shift, this creative turn, all these creative ideas, stories from indie creators, and so
That's the
you know,
best way to do it. I mean, that's why you see a lot of people, they leave big corporations so they could do it on their own because that's the only way you're going to be able to do it your way, right?
you know, and so it's gonna. I feel like just that and building a community to where we can come together and work together, and you start to see these ones that have built wealth and have succeeded come back and invest in studios, invest in courses and that, to where others can come up and learn and really you know grow their talent. Yeah, I'm trying to invest big time. That's what it's all about. Give back in whatever way you can. I believe in a rising tide lifts all boats. That's my
The
belief.
thing is, a lot of people don't realize that you don't even have to give money to be supportive. Like subscribing, commenting, giving thumbs up, and like all that stuff that pushes you on social media, like that. That That's big in the
Yeah,
eyes of these big investment companies and stuff. So if they see somebody has like 1,000,000 followers, then they're gonna be listened to a lot more than if just, somebody that has like 500 followers or something like that. So I always tell people, you don't have to spend money. All you have to do is either just subscribe, comment every now and then, just support the content, and that's more than enough.
definitely, definitely. I think people and truthfully, and I'll kind of turn to that, kind of make a twist on what you just said, because I believe a company, even if you have a million subscribers, if your million subscribers are just they're just subscribers and they're not engaged subscribers, the
Yeah,
company would rather you have 10,000 true engaged subscribers that follow you, listen to you, hang on to your word, rather than if you had 100 or a million that you didn't have half of them that don't follow your content or whatnot, that are just subscribed to you for that. I think their thing is your community, are you engaged with your community?
yeah,
And
that's
is your
true too.
community a
Yeah,
really engaged community? And if your community is engaged, then they can talk to your community and they know that you have some kind of weight and pull with your community. Now, some companies obviously they focus on the numbers, but I think
yeah. I was gonna say it goes.
yeah,
It
they
depends
focus
on who
on the
you're.
numbers. Some
Yeah,
companies do, but I think a company, a good company, will look at the true engagement, because you're on LinkedIn, and I'm pretty sure you got a goo gobs of followers. How many of those followers are really like true followers that engage with your content, comment, that type of thing? It's a small percentage. It
it's
really is.
tough too because these companies changed their algorithm. Because I like, but YouTube was my big platform, right? And I even noticed, a downshift in engagement on YouTube. And, like I go to trade shows all the time and people are like, oh, how come you don't make tutorials anymore? And I'm like, I do. And they're like, I haven't seen your video in like 3 years. Like I haven't seen your videos pop up on my feed. So it's like, it's the platforms too. Like sometimes they're
Yeah,
not,
that's
even
true.
if you have a lot of followers, they're not even showing your content to your followers, which is kind of frustrating. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I've talked to a lot of creators that express that same sentiment of feeling like you're always having to chase the algorithm because it's always changing and they're never
but you don't
showing
even,
it.
they don't tell you how it changed though. So
Yeah,
how do
they
you
don't
chase
tell
it
you
when you don't
anything.
even know? Yeah.
So it's all of a sudden you see the numbers drop and the viewers drop, and it's like, well, what's going on? Type of thing.
A lot of
So
times they're not pushing your stuff to your followers. That's the main thing. I can't tell you how many times people ask me why did I stop YouTube, and I'm like, I've still been here the whole time, and they're like, we haven't seen your stuff in years, like literally years. It's been that they haven't seen my stuff, which is nuts.
well, it's funny because, like I said, there are periods where, like I said, you'll quickly pass something like a video or ad or something like that, and then all of a sudden you get a lot of the content for a while, and then all of a sudden you haven't seen any videos or anything like that in a while. I've had a lot of creators like that. It's like I used to get videos from them like Corridor Crew. When I first
Yeah,
started and came across Corridor Crew, I used to get notifications and videos all the time from them. Now it's like it's rare that their videos come across my feed unless I'm looking, for that or that
crazy
videos.
because they got. I mean, they have one of the biggest followings on YouTube, like 15 million or something. And so if they're not showing you their stuff, I mean, that what's that mean for the rest of us?
So I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. And so I try to focus as hard as it is, I try to focus on just the content as opposed to the numbers because it's just
Yeah.
trying to chase the numbers of stuff. I'd be driving myself insane trying to keep up. But
Nah, I feel that. That's why I go to trade shows. I think being on the grass, like I'm a big believer in like grassroots and just being amongst the people. So I feel like that's something that the algorithm can't take away from you. Is just being on the ground, having boots on the ground and speaking to people and meeting people in person. Like that's something that they can't take away from you. So that's why I try to go to as many conferences as possible and just be, out there.
yeah, yeah. Well, before we let you go, Jonathan, and close this out, where are you going to be next? I mean, what's the next in-person thing that you're going to be doing?
Just got asked to come out to SIGGRAPH. So SIGGRAPH's gonna be in LA. It's gonna be in my backyard this year, but I'll be at the Dell booth and I'll be debuting my light gun shooter. So I have to finish it now because they asked me to show it
Yeah.
at the booth. Like I was just doing it for fun, just to experiment and stuff. And they're like, "Oh, could you bring it out, let people play it?" So I'm like, "All right, now I gotta
Be careful what you
officially
show.
put it together."
Be careful what you put out there, man. When is
Yeah, I mean,
Seagraft?
it's what's that?
When is Seagraft this year? Is it
You said where is it at or?
when? Has it
Oh,
coming?
when? It's, July 20th.
Okay,
So it's up in LA on July 20th this year.
I 20. Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
doing, have you been to SIGGRAPH or?
I've been to two Seagrafts. I was here I went to Seagraft when they had it in San Antonio one year,
Okay.
and I went to Seagraft when they had it in New Orleans. But then after that, it's been in either Canada or LA. And I just haven't been able to get out that way. But yeah,
Yeah,
I've been
that's the
to it
thing.
twice. Yeah, I've been to
I
Seagraft
started
twice.
going to them when they were in, like, LA and, Vancouver, and I feel like that's, like, the only cities they've been going in between ever since I've been going. Because I hear about, like, New Orleans and stuff. I'm like, "I would like to go down there." Like,
Yeah,
I don't
that
know
was
why they don't
cool.
spread it out anymore.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't. I think they don't travel like that anymore. It's been rare. Like I said, they've
Yeah.
usually either had it in Canada or LA. But a couple of years, like I said, one year they had it in San Antonio, and so me and some friends drove. It's only 2 hours, so we drove there from Houston, and then the next year they had it in New Orleans, and so me and some friends drove to New Orleans. I was like, that's cool. At least it's close because usually I can't get to it. so it was close.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I'm fortunate enough I'm in LA, so a lot of the trade shows come through here, so that's why I'm able to go to so many, but
But I am next year gonna put NAB, try to put NAB on my calendar because I have been wanting to go to NAB, and it is in Vegas. So hey, I always love
yeah,
Vegas.
that's a good one,
Yeah,
NAB. It's always in Vegas, so it's always a known
yeah,
quantity, and yeah, that's for me, it's only like a 4-ish hour drive, so I
yeah.
usually drive out there and just stay out there for the week, but, yeah, I just came back from NAB, just came back from RenderCon. That was a good one. That was in Hollywood.
Well,
Like I said, I'll be in SIGGRAPH in July. Then immediately from SIGGRAPH, I just got picked up to do a panel talk at Comic Con in San Diego. So I'll be
yeah.
there directly after SIGGRAPH, and then yeah, I
So,
don't.
so are you
There's a lot
fitting
coming up.
client work in between all of these speaking, or is this the thing that's taking up your time as far as work?
No, it's still
Just
working. That's the thing. Like I guess I put off the wrong perception that this is what makes money because I have studios hit me up like we didn't know that you do work. I'm like, no, that's how I pay the bills. So definitely, if you got work out there, hit me up because yeah, this stuff I do is a lot of it's for fun. A lot
yeah.
of it's to help out the community. I enjoy speaking in front of audiences and stuff like that. But at the end of the
Well,
day, I'm not like Chris Do status. It doesn't pay my bills. It's just something that I do.
well, like you said, people watching it on the outside have a different perception. They're thinking,
I wish that was true. I wish it was I definitely wish it was true, but yeah. I mean, one day, hopefully.
no, it's coming. It is coming for sure. But definitely, again, like I tell everybody, make sure that you connect with Jonathan because he has some amazing content. And you would definitely learn some stuff. I know I have. But Jonathan, thank you so much, man, for coming on and just having this little fun conversation. You're always welcome to come back, brother, on the show and chat about
No, thank you.
whatever is going on with you and whatever you want to talk about, man.
I'll have to when I get the shooter done, I'll have to send you a link. I have to figure out how to get it online so you could play it because it even though it works with the light gun, it also works with the mouse as well.
Oh,
'Cause
really?
I'm building
Okay,
it
cool,
to
cool, cool. Hmm.
HTML5, so I'm trying to make it um as approachable as possible for a lot of like I wanted to get it on like the iPad too. So I'm just like I'm not even going to charge for it. I just want to put it together, put it out there, put maybe like a behind the scenes of how it's done, and maybe inspire some other people to just dive in and make games because it's fun.
I always said I wanted to kind of, try my hand at, making a game. I know I enjoy playing them, but making them is a different thing. But again, you have tools such as Chat GPT and some of these other tools that can help you work your way through making a game. So that's what I mean. Use these tools. Use
Yeah,
them. Creatives as a creatives. These are just tools for us to get our ideas and our visions out there. So use them for what they are and use them in the right way. Um,
absolutely.
with that, we are going to close this puppy down. Man, we hit it. Oh man, awesome! 3 hours, 3 hours, baby. This has been my first 3 hours in a while.
You're hitting
On
Joe
the
Rogan
show.
status now.
Oh man, but this has been a fun one as always. I can't thank you enough. For joining me, the viewers, and for Jonathan. Everybody, Jonathan, I'm not even going to ask you to hang out. Till after I do the show, but I am going to hit you up next week and touch base with you because I do want to talk with you about some stuff I got in my head here. Uh, but everybody, please help me thank Jonathan Winbush again for coming by and sharing a
Thank
fireside
you.
chat with us. Thanks, Jonathan, for stopping by. I'll hit you up next week. Again, all his information will be in the show notes.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Awesome, brother. Guys, this has been a great episode. Again, I can't thank Jonathan enough for stopping by. You have to. Again, he wasn't scheduled, and I always am happy when guests just want to come by and shoot the breeze and share with us. And Jonathan obviously has a lot of knowledge and a lot of value. Again, all his information I will put in the show notes. Please make sure you connect with him because he's got some great tutorials. I watch his tutorials to get better at my tutorial making. So definitely just learning something is a great thing. So watching his videos, you'll definitely learn some stuff. You all have been great viewers as always, and as I always like to say, I thank you so much for giving me just a little bit of your time every Saturday afternoon. This was a 3 hour chunk of time, I gotta say, but it was a good conversation. I always enjoy having these conversations with you guys. Again, anybody that has any information that they want to share, again, drop it in, shoot me an email at info@thecolorofmotion.net. Mr. A, all that information that you dropped in the comments, please send it over to us because I definitely want to pass it on to Jonathan as well. He's always looking for organizations over in Africa to get be a part of and get connected with. So again, info at thecolorofmotion.net. All right. With that, we can close this puppy out. This has been a fun one for sure. Definitely want to thank you. Hopefully you have a great rest of your weekend and a great rest of your week. Next week is going to be even better. You definitely don't want to miss that as well because I'm super looking forward to next week. Welcoming next guest, Dragana Stavenkovic, animation content coach and animator. Looking forward to having a fun sit down with Dragana. So, with that, have a great rest of your week and have a productive week. I will see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Cheers, everybody.